Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is May 7, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Stunning news out of Memphis. 3 former cops who were involved in the murder of Tyre Nichols were acquitted on all charges by an all-white jury. We'll hear from Ben Crump, who is the attorney for the family, about this devastating decision. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett laid into Donald Trump in a hearing about trans people and fencing, and it was pretty idiotic. And so we'll show you exactly what was said there as well. Also, a lot of drama at Florida A&M regarding the search for a new president. We'll tell you what's happening with that. And the Fed chief says, hey, keep moving forward with these tariffs, then you're going to see significant unemployment as well as a recession. And Congressman Gregory Meeks tore into the Treasury Secretary, who said that the trade deficit is a national emergency. Yeah, lots to unpack there. It's time to bring the funk. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling.
Folks, stunning decision out of Memphis where an all-white jury, not from Memphis, but from a neighboring county, Hamilton County, cleared three of the former Memphis cops in the beating death of Tyre Nichols. This was completely stunning to so many different people. This was the state trial. Now remember, they had already been convicted in federal trial, but sentencing was delayed until the outcome of this state trial. And because of all the attention, they chose this jury from Hamilton County, deliberated 8.5 hours. Darius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Justice Smith Jr., all charged with and cleared of second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. This is what was the verdict when it was read in the courtroom.
Demetrius Haley, not guilty. Count 2, we the jury find the defendant, Justin Smith, not guilty. Count 3, aggravated kidnapping with bodily injury. We the jury find the defendant, Darius Bean, not guilty. Count 3, we the jury find the defendant, Demetrius Haley, not guilty.
Folks, absolutely shocking. Of course, the world was stunned when Tyre Nichols, when this video was released, showing him being viciously beaten to death by these cops. Joining us right now is Ben Crump, the attorney for the family. Ben, this family has to be devastated. How in the hell does this all-white jury come to this decision?
Well, first of all, you start with rolling the fact that it's an all-white jury when the city of Memphis is majority black. The fact that you had different rules where police seem to be the only people who they say we can't get a fair trial in the city where the alleged crime was committed, and they then get to go out and get a more conservative base to select from. It reminds you of the Rodney King, Simi Valley jury situation.
Yep.
And so, you know, I guess it's an algebraic expression, Roland. If X plus Y equals Z, all white jury, and, you know, you hope that it would be a different result, but oftentimes when you don't have people who understand black life experiences and culture, they normally don't have consideration for the dead black victim.
Ben,
that's the only thing I can come to, Roland.
Ben, this is the thing.
Video is clear.
This is the thing that we're always talking about, that what happens is when you have these juries, mostly white juries, they see the cops in a totally different light. This is one of those cases where it's clear, it's obvious. And you had two of the cops who pled guilty testified against them, and it's like literally, what the hell were they seeing in their mind? They literally think that these three cops had no role to play in the death of Tyre Nichols?
I mean, Roland, it's astonishing the fact that they didn't even find them guilty of official misconduct, even though the city ordinance and the police policy said you had a duty to intervene if an officer was committing excessive force. How can you say it wasn't excessive force? They watched, they listened, and as the prosecutors pointed out, they participated.
Yeah, now typically when you have a hung jury, the prosecution will have an opportunity to talk to the jurors to find out what took place. Any idea if the prosecutors talk to these jurors afterwards to figure out how in the hell they arrived at not guilty on all charges, including the lesser charges?
I don't think this jury wanted to talk to the prosecutors. If I had to guess, Roland, these jurors have a certain mentality, what we see going on the national stage in America. It's divorced of respect, I believe, for black victims. And so thank God we had Christian Clark and the feds get convictions in federal court on all the officers, because without that, Miss Robine and her family wouldn't have had any justice. And keep her impressed. She is just utterly devastated. She could not believe what she heard.
Ben, no, you have to go, but the federal sentencing was delayed until this state trial. Bean and Smith both were found guilty in federal court of witness tampering. They face up to 20 years in federal prison. And Haley, who was also acquitted in state, he was found guilty on all counts on the federal level. He could serve a life sentence in federal prison. And so this is a perfect example of what we talk about when we talking about how the Department of Justice, now the Department of Injustice, in that at least for African Americans, we could look to the federal government if we couldn't get recourse on the state level, where you had DAs who would not indict, who would not prosecute. You now have a federal Department of Justice who they'll let cops get away for stuff after they've been found guilty. Trump pardoned 2 cops who were responsible for the death of a black teen in D.C. Those 2 cops are now back on the force. And so the only thing here is that they already have been convicted, and now the question is, what will the sentencing be in federal court?
Exactly, Roland. It reminds you of elections have consequences. All those people who say, well, there's no difference between President Biden, Kamala Harris, Vice President administration versus a Trump administration. Well, I beg to differ. This is prima facie evidence that elections do matter. And I do want to remind all of your audience, Roland Martin, that June 5th will be Tyre's birthday. And so we're talking about having a big march on the 5th to say that Tyre life matters.
Well, let's also not forget May 25th is the 5th anniversary of the death of George Floyd. That is a Sunday. And we're living in a time where on the federal level, these folks want to act like that didn't exist. And then you have some people calling for Derek Chauvin to be pardoned on the federal charges.
Yeah. So we got work to do, brother. Thank you, Roland, for always covering our stories.
Ben, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Yes, sir.
I want to bring up my panel right now who joins me. Daniel Blackman, former Biden appointee, founder, Renaissance 94 out of Atlanta. We have Joy Cheney, founder of Joy Strategies out of D.C. Derek Jackson, Georgia State Representative out of Atlanta as well. Derek, I'm going to start with you. I mean, my goodness. When the news came across, I got a text message from Ben about this, and I just couldn't believe it, that how in the hell could any jury watching that tape not convict these cops on any charges? It's not that they were found not guilty on the most serious ones. They were found not guilty even on the lesser charges.
You know, Roland, I'm still stunned. I mean, this breaking news continues to be breaking news continuously in our Black and brown communities. What is justice? What is justice? Where you have hard evidence, video, audio, you have concrete evidence that the law enforcement exceeded their authority and they killed an innocent man. And so when you have a verdict where you're going to acquit all of these officers, and now you had a Department of Justice, to your point, it's the most unfortunate thing, brother. We're going to see these things over and over again. And that's why there's a necessity of civil rights. There's a necessity of making sure that we have justice for everyone. There's a necessity to curtail this bad behavior. And when we don't do that, and we don't have a mechanism in place where a jury of 12 individuals all looking at the same tape and they acquit these 3 officers. I mean, you mentioned George Floyd, Roland. This will be 5-year anniversary. And 5 years ago, every municipality, every city, every state made a plea to curtail, do justice reform. And here we are, still seeing the same thing over and over again. It's just appalling. It's unfortunate that this family is not going to get the justice that they deserve and demand. When you see this evidence that they killed him.
Joy, the point that we've been making is that, again, with this idiot in the White House, you cannot look to the federal government for any recourse. And Lord knows what the hell the U.S. attorney, what sentencing they're going to ask for these cops, because he's been willing to let cops off for heinous activity.
Correct. I mean, he lets cops off for heinous activities. He's also let heinous white Americans who stormed the Capitol off for heinous activities against cops. There's no rhyme or reason except lawlessness is the order of the day here. And there seems to be a belief that Black lives matter just a little bit less than everyone else. This is what we meant. And what happened with George Floyd was an awakening where people understood, it felt like, they understood why we cried out and said Black Lives Matter. But this retrenchment from that is a sign that we're going back to the time, or at least people are now willing to admit what they really believe, which is that when it comes to cops, our lives don't matter. And it really doesn't matter the race of the cop. What is so hurtful here is that, you know, we had one verdict. We don't know what's going. We had a sentencing. We don't know verdict. We don't know what the sentencing is going to be in the federal case. We have it here. There will be postmortems. I'm very interested to see what how the jury could have come to this decision legally. What I pray for is peace in that community, because this is the kind of thing that would make you take to the streets. None of us are safe in this case. And it is a sign that I know you're talking, but there's a sign that when you have a jury that is all white, they simply do not understand the things that Black people undergo, which we all do regardless of socioeconomic status.
Yeah, but the thing here, Daniel, and we see this on numerous times, where white juries, especially conservative juries, in their minds, they see the cops as friends and allies.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, 3 words, and you already said them. Elections have consequences. Coming from a federal background, it's really, really important for us to understand that 5 years isn't that long ago. We clearly have not fully as a nation healed from what we all witnessed in the same year with both Derek and myself's home state with Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. And we're seeing this happen, and we're seeing a more weaponized second term of the Trump administration that I believe is going to do everything in their power to continue to uplift the law enforcement that are bad actors in many of these areas. And I think many people have made this about, you know, progressives or liberals or regular folks against police. Look, we're against police officers that don't do their job and are not held accountable. And I think in this particular case, at a state level, I share the same concern as Attorney Crump. When you look at what is happening right now on the federal level and with Trump's Department of Justice and everything we've seen, I'm very concerned. And I'm more concerned that these companies that were the quote unquote foundation of DEI and changing their standards, changing their roles and their responsibilities, that have since rescinded that in January with the inauguration of Donald Trump, you know, they have no further desire to see this change. And when you talk about going to the streets, as Joy just mentioned, my concern now is this administration has not only weaponized the courts, but we now may even see a scenario where if people do take this to the streets, will we see military or even further policy choices by the administration to quell that and then ultimately put activists, marchers, and folks that demand justice behind bars? We saw what those individuals from January 6th did. They were acquitted, their charges thrown out the door. The same scenario won't happen for those of us who march for justice.
Well, folks, now we'll see what happens on the federal level when sentencing actually takes place. All right, got to go to a break. We come back. Lots to talk about. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett takes MAGA to task over their constant focus on trans athletes as opposed to much bigger issues in this country. So we'll show you that. Also, massive cuts continuing in the Veterans Administration. We'll talk to a black veterans group about that, but also on Capitol Hill today, the head of the VA got raked over the coals by a senator for just the arbitrary cuts they've been making. Some 80,000 people being laid off. And what happens when a black family complains about child being called the N-word? Well, they complain to a Catholic school. The Catholic school boots their son out of the university. We're talking with saxophonist Mike Phillips about what his family has been going through. Lots to break down. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
We begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now. Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history. Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin or download the Black Star Network app.
My name is Lena Charles, and I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana. Yes, that is Zydeco capital of the world.
My name is Margaret Chappelle. I'm from Dallas, Texas, representing the Urban Trivia Game.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you watch.
Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Folks, the child of a black family on the playground gets called a racial slur. The parents complain about that. What then happens is the school expels the young man. Well, because of all the attention surrounding the principal of the Madeline School, a private Catholic school in Northeast Oregon, is now on leave as a result of what took place. Mike Phillips, of course, internationally renowned saxophonist, says that the 10-year-old son was called a racial slur again on the playground. They demanded answers and planning to address the racism. Principal Tressa Rast actually called the cops on them, and just days later, their son was expelled and cut ties with the family, citing a violation of the school's code of conduct. Mike Phillips joins us right now. Mike, glad to have you here. So I'm confused. What was the code of conduct that y'all talked back? What the hell?
Well, you know, it's broad language, and the language is broad for a very specific reason. So you can't talk back. So if you hold somebody accountable for an environment that permeates because of history we had with our previous son and other kids of color complaining, then, you know, you really can't talk about it. You know, there's a limit. So I think the code of conduct was violated because of her feelings being hurt because of two parents that she's not used to standing up in front of her face, demanding a level of accountability that obviously made her feel uncomfortable.
How long ago did this happen when this racial slur was said against your son?
It was reported March 31st. March 31st. Okay. And we came to the school immediately and took our son out. And I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Dad, I'm good." I said, "We can take you home right now." And his thing was, "Hey, we're starting chess club, so I want to at least do that." And then I said, "Did you hear someone say that to you?" He absolutely said yes. And, you know, then I asked the principal, I said, "We need to see your racial incident policy." She gave us a piece of paper and said it was emailed to us. Again, really vague language in how they approach this. And then we wanted to have a conversation about it. And then all of a sudden the conversation is over. And I saw her go to the phone. And as soon as I saw her turn around and go to the phone, I said, oh no, she is calling 911. And that's exactly what she did.
She called 911.
911 off of a conversation. And you know what? I'm really curious if anybody in the history of that school talking to any principal have had the cops called on them. Now, this puts me, with the breaking news that just happened. You know the level of danger a black man is in when the cops is called on him in a predominantly white school. Come on, man. Like a disrespectful level, pulling a lever of power. Like it was crazy, Roland.
Is your son still expelled? Where is he?
Absolutely, he's still expelled. And guess what? We put him in another school, and we turned that around in 3 days. And from this letter, it's permanent. And I absolutely don't want to put him back in that school and have him associated with the scene of the crime. So we're good on that. Never again.
Have you heard from other parents? And first of all, how diverse is this school, or is it not diverse at all?
It's not diverse at all. And and I get asked the questions. Well, why would you put him in a space that doesn't have any diversity? Well, I mean, all you have to do is check the census report of Portland, Oregon. Now you have black family and executives that come in that work for Nike, they work for Adidas, Columbia Sportswear, Intel, Boeing. And if we can't get what we want from the public school system, then we have to kind of like, we got to make sure our kids get the optimal education. So it's kind of like, you damn if you do and you damn if you don't.
How traumatic, how difficult has this been for your son?
It is a crapshoot. Some days he wakes up and doesn't even want to go to school. Some days he sits down and he says, Dad, why would they do something like this to me? I want to know why they don't love me. And I was just like, I hate to break it to you, but this is the American story. And for him to learn it this early at 10 years old is really heartbreaking, because he's up and down. So this is all about him. One day he just bust out, started crying. So the emotional distress and the up and down, and me not knowing what I am going to come home to, or what, it's like rolling dice. You don't know where he's going to be. He's going to be upset. He's going to be mad. He's going to miss his friends. And, he's all over the place right now. And this was caused by adults not understanding the gravity of their decision.
Did they ever admit that he was called a racial slur? And if so, what happened to what happened to that student?
This is so crazy. Like, there's a little bit going around where they're saying that there's a story going around where one kid made the whole thing up and then convinced my son to go along with it, which is asinine to me. The person who said it, they said everybody who mentioned it, they mentioned it to them. Nobody knows who said it. And my son said that he absolutely heard it.
What's next? I mean, obviously, this school is. First of all, does this school have a board of trustees?
Listen. These Catholic schools, it's all about the priests.
Is the Catholic diocese? Have y'all reached out to? I mean, first, look, I was born and raised Catholic, so I understand that whole system. You got the Catholic diocese. You have a whole hierarchy. Have y'all communicated with the Catholic Church's hierarchy?
Well, you know what? We have. I got my legal team, and they are communicating, and we're gonna come to a resolution, because at the end of the day, this is not just about this particular situation, but there are other kids that are going through this, and enough is enough, man. It's crazy.
Do you believe also that school officials are not happy considering your international status as one of the top saxophone players in the country?
Well, you know what? I was very clear because we had some other instances with my son, and I told them, I said, if I got to come back in here, there's going to be a problem. And they're so reactionary. So now, as soon as the news hits and they are going viral, that's when they respond. And sometimes, you don't ever want to connect who you are with what you do. But this time, I had no choice.
All right. Mike, keep us abreast. What happens next, my brother?
Yo, no doubt, man. Thank you, man, for being the voice for us, man. I really appreciate you for all that you do in media, man.
I appreciate it. See you on the golf course soon.
Oh, no doubt.
All right. Thanks a bunch. Folks, going to a break. We come back. We'll talk about what is happening with veterans in this country. Donald Trump and his thugs in his administration claim they love the military, but they are decimating the Department of Veteran Affairs. That's next right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do, folks. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is real simple, to get 20,000 of our fans on average contributing $50 each a year, $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. We purposely don't do a subscription. We don't do a Patreon. We don't because we want the content available to as many folks as possible. And so your generous support is critically important. Since we launched this show on September 4th, 2018, we've had some 35,000 donors support our show. Folks who give as little as $1, some people who give even more. So if you want to help us contribute via Cash App, I told you Cash App changed their rules and closed down all of our accounts because of how we classify as a company. But if you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. That is Stripe QR code. You can also use that QR code for credit card processing as well. If you want to send a check and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Now streaming on the Black Star Network.
In France, me and Tony, and accidentally went to the Louvre, right? I had never been, and I saw a side door. And we got off the little bus. I said, come on, let's go to the Louvre. I mean, I'm just like, let's go to the Louvre, right?
We're here.
This black girl is at the door with this white guy, black African girl. And she says, oh my gosh, Vanessa Bell Calloway. And I'm like this, you know me? And come to find out we were at the wrong door. But she said, I'm gonna let you in, just go in here. But I was in Paris, France. Mm-hmm. And that shocked me. She knew my name, she knew me. Mm-hmm. My movie. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's like, you just gotta, they say, build and they will come. Put it out there, people will find it, they will come.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
On the next, A Balanced Life, we're talking soul and soul food. The kitchen is the heart of the home. So many memories that are there, the things we've learned, the recipes that we've tried to garner and to somewhat figure out how to cook ourselves. There's something about the kitchen and family and being at the table that brings us all joy. We're going to be joined by some amazing guests who are going to talk to us about how do we keep tradition alive and what are we doing for the culture.
The traditions and the gathering and the warmth and security, those memories are super important. And we have to, make sure that those continue to happen. So no matter how we get in the kitchen or around the food, I just want you there.
That's all next on A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, we're talking about the difficulty of being able to acquire wealth for Black Americans. My guest, Emily Flitter, is the author of The White Wall, How Big Finance is Bankrupting Black Americans.
The bad stuff that you feel when you're dealing with the financial services industry is not your fault. It's not your fault, and you don't deserve to be treated like this.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
This is your boy, Earthquake.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Folks, the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump claims to love the military, but you could not tell based upon his actions. Joining with Elon Musk, massive cuts have been taking place to the Department of Veteran Affairs. We've been seeing this all across the country. Democrats have been taking aim. Michigan Senator Lisa Slotkin was going hard after the head of the VA, Doug Collins, former member of Congress, about these cuts and just the arbitrary decision to fire 80,000 people. Watch this.
So how come there were people fired and then rehired from the veteran suicide hotline? Like you've acknowledged, I think, even publicly, that some of these things were a mistake. It doesn't give us confidence that an 80,000 number, which is just a number, you didn't say career fields, you didn't say whatever, you just said 80,000, that's being done with a scalpel and not a sledgehammer. And I think for veteran care, again, it's not me that's the only one asking these questions. It's veterans who have a very different political view than me, who are getting seriously agitated back home. So I just don't understand the logic behind a across-the-board haircut.
Well, I think the biggest thing is what you're looking at here is, I think right now there's been, because that's what I've had to fight for the whole time, is to fight this idea of just being blanket numbers throw out, playing Trivial Pursuit with numbers and others.
Right.
It has scared veterans. So honestly, what are they going to hear? If all they hear from people is, if you cut this, then it's going to actually impact my health care, then what are they actually going to think? Because one, they've not seen a plan. You've not seen a plan, because we're still working a plan. I'm not going to play out a plan in public that would actually take employees. You wouldn't do it in your own office.
I know I'm over, but it is playing out in public because you have fired people and then they have been rehired. That's not a secret plan. People in my district, Marines, veterans, have been fired from their VA jobs and then brought back. So it's not that there's some sneaky plan. You're in it. You're living it, and you're living the sloppiness of it. So I'm sorry, I know my time's over, but I can't agree that the 80,000 is going to be a nice trim scalp.
It's amazing what happens when you just sit there and just lie, but that's what these folks do. And so you've had a number of various groups fighting this, including black veterans. They joined hundreds of former service members today to hit Capitol Hill, talking to these shameless, despicable Republicans. They held a rally outside of the U.S. Capitol after Collins defended the cuts before the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. Advocates Vidya Barnett and Steve Pitts are demanding transparency, and they also want action to protect the most vulnerable veterans. They join us now in the studio. Glad to have y'all here. I mean, you sit here and you watch this, and you see. And we know what the game is. I mean, the bottom line is DOGE recommended all of these cuts. All of these Republicans went along with it. They're scared to death of challenging Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And Collins is just ticked off. He's getting raked over the coals because they chose to be idiots and not combat these just cuts that just made no sense. Like, how do you cut folks from a suicide prevention line?
Roland, I have no idea. Thank you so much for having us. We actually were in that hearing, so we actually sat back there and listened to him gaslight us for hours. It was disgusting. And I, for one, am a disabled veteran who used the suicide hotline after I had a stroke in 2019. So the suicide hotline counselor saved my life. And so when you cut those type of jobs, or even the support jobs, so the individuals who are making appointments or answering the phones and then pushing them out, those type of people need to be there, because the person who's answering the phone can't make the appointments, can't schedule. So it's a trickle-down effect. So to have him say, well, some of these jobs are arbitrary, we don't need that. A veteran gave a great example. He said a pilot flies a plane, but there's a whole crew that he needs in order to be able to even fly a plane. It's the same thing with the VA.
The folks at ProPublica dropped this story that says internal VA emails. Anthony, go to my iPad. Internal VA emails reveal how Trump cuts jeopardize veterans' care, including to life-saving cancer trials. In their article, laid this out. They say earlier this year, doctors at Veterans Affairs hospitals in Pennsylvania sounded an alarm. Sweeping cuts imposed by the Trump administration, they told higher-ups in an email, were causing, quote, severe and immediate impacts, including to life-saving cancer trials. The email said more than 1,000 veterans would lose access to treatment for diseases ranging from metastatic head and neck cancers to kidney disease to traumatic brain injuries. Quote, enrollment in clinical trials is stopping, the email warned, meaning veterans lose access to therapies. The administration reversed some of its decisions, allowing some trials to continue for now. Still, other research, including the trials for treating head and neck cancer, has been stalled. What's crazy to me is you juxtapose this with that grossly unqualified Pete Hegseth, who stands up talking about lethality. Oh, it's all about, we're gonna have this lethal fighting force. And this is what Republicans have always done. Talk about, oh, how they love the troops when it's send them to war, but then don't give a damn about them when they come home.
Absolutely, absolutely, Roland. You know, I'm one of them troops. You know, I'm a two-time Iraq and Afghanistan war veteran. Actually, I was forced to medically retire because I had PTSD, right? And so the mental health services at the VA saved my life, right? In real time. They saved my marriage with my wife. We did couples counseling. And then back in October, I tore my Achilles, and the VA fixed that. Oftentimes, especially for black veterans, the VA is our only source of medical care, right? And there's so many stats. There's about 2.4 million Black veterans across the country right now, and we're about 17% of the veteran population. But you know, we're only 13% of this country's population, which shows that Black veterans put their right hand up to serve, and that's a contract. And so we're up here this week asking for all veterans, for the administration and those in charge to uphold the other end of that contract, where we get these things, these services, the health care, right? And like Vidya said, it takes more than just having a doctor, right? You need administrative staff, you need the janitors, you need this, that, and the third. And all these people's lives are being upended because they're working on a plan, right?
Well, one of the things that jumps out at me again, you would think if there is one department that they could get right, whether it's a Democrat or Republican president, it would be the VA. And it just continues to have problem after problem after problem. But we're dealing right now where Trump wants to make the Pentagon's budget $1 trillion, the first time ever to spend $1 trillion. And if he's throwing this big military parade on his birthday, it's going to cost $50 to $100 million. And he's like, oh, we got these great weapons and missiles and submarines. Well, how about the actual people? And that's really what this is about. The people who are the ones who are sent into various places fighting on behalf of the country.
Exactly, and that's why our organization, Common Defense, which is a progressive veterans organization representing over 300,000 veterans across this country, we all are standing up and saying, that's not going to happen on our watch. The buck stops here. We're going to hold the line, and we're going to fight like hell to make sure that our brothers and sisters who have not only served this country, but have been harmed, whether it's a physical harm, whether it's an emotional harm, a mental harm, and then also their family members. So we're talking about caregivers. If you have a quadriplegic, a veteran, someone has to take care of that individual. So the VA also provides resources and caregiver support for these families. And then we're talking about elderly. Both of my parents are Marine Corps veterans. My dad's a Vietnam era veteran. You know, as my parents get older, the VA also funds some of the care that these older veterans will need. And these are the things that people aren't discussing. It's just cut, 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 but not looking at the lives behind the numbers. And that is, for me, very personal because I come from a family of service. My husband's an Army vet. My daughter's a Coast Guard veteran. I'm an Air Force veteran. And for me, it is offensive. That is the reason why I took this oath of office, knowing that I was going to be taken care of. And I just shudder to think what will happen to not only myself, but other veterans, especially when you're talking about your senior veterans that don't have access in rural areas. So with these cuts, that means those individuals may be 4 hours away from a VA. How are they going to get the care that they need, their medication? So these are the things that I think this administration, their regime, that's the word I use, they're very short-sighted. They're looking at us like we're a budget, a line on a budget spreadsheet, and not individuals who majority of us volunteer to serve this country. My dad's generation was drafted. We volunteered. And now you're going to slap us in the face and tell us, oh, well, you know, sucks to be you?
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think it's a little deeper than that. These individuals, they're smart individuals. They're not making smart decisions, right? And so they use the data to project what's going to happen. And some of the VA projections show that there will be a significant increase in veterans who are members of minority groups, like our founder, Jose, who had life-saving surgery by the VA, right? He's going through chemotherapy right now. He sat out there in front of the Capitol yesterday with Bernie Sanders and the whole gambit. But when we're in there and we're advocating, some of these legislators are not really showing us why they are in their office. But the numbers show that the veteran population will be about 40% minority groups by 2045. And so I really believe that with the reshaping of all the veterans and closing these veteran facilities, but in addition to the current active duty and the reservists, right? And what the Defense Secretary is doing, we're trying to reshape what the military looks like. That for me is just dog whistle saying we want to have the military and the veteran population look a certain type of way, taking us back to certain times, right? Because all the data is trending that minority groups will increase in these populations. And so they're trying to reroute all of that so they don't have to take care of us, because the trends also show that Black veterans use VA benefits more than their counterparts, and they're also more denied on their claims, and they don't get the care that they need at a higher clip than that's representative to their population of the veteran groups.
Before I go to my panel with their own questions, I do want people to understand that this ain't new. and no, I really,
You're right.
For people who don't understand American history, Anthony, go to my iPad. Folks, there's something called the Pennsylvania Mutiny of 1783. Y'all, this is the American Revolution.
Right.
Okay, and when you read this story, it says the Revolutionary War was ending, but America's problems were far from over. The country was deep in debt from their war efforts and struggling to meet its obligations, including the payment of soldiers who had served in the war. For many Continental Army soldiers, their victory over the British came at great personal cost. And as the war was coming to a close and was becoming increasingly clear that many would never receive the pay they were promised, turmoil began to spread among their ranks. On June 17th, 1783, a group of soldiers threatened Congress with action if they were not paid for their service. When Congress ignored their request for payment, roughly 400 Continental Army soldiers marched into Philadelphia, barricaded Congress inside Independence Hall, and demanded payment for their service. It was only through a negotiation led by Alexander Hamilton, himself a veteran of the Continental Army, that the soldiers allowed Congress to leave Independence Hall, and that's how it happened. And so here we have the very first war. So from the beginning, if you trace this, there were Black soldiers during the Civil War who had to do the exact same thing to get paid. So you can go to the protests in 1932 and on and on and on. So since the beginning of this country, veterans have had to fight Congress to get paid and to be taken care of. From the beginning.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, this is for all veterans, right? But you know, me and Vidya being the co-chairs under Common Defense for the Black Veteran Caucus, we really want veterans to know that we're standing up, right? That's why we're here this week, 100 veterans, next time 1,000, and we'll keep coming back because we recognize we have to stand in the gap. Because to your point, when the Black soldiers came back from the Vietnam War, right, they didn't get the same benefits, right? They didn't get the home ownership. They didn't get certain benefits, right? And we've been serving.
Oh
Black
yeah, after
veterans.
World War II, Black soldiers did not benefit the GI Bill.
Right, not at all.
And we've been serving since colonial times by force or choice, right? And so I think in the direction that we're actually headed, I think it is a squeeze to kind of push out minority groups from serving in these places, right? And then I actually see in our future, because recruitment numbers are down, that we might go back to a draft. And that's why they haven't put out the plan, because I think the plan is deeper than what we actually see.
Well, first of all, they keep claiming how they're hitting their recruitment goals. And the problem they're facing is they can't convince enough of these rural white boys to join. And we see how they are treating African Americans. We see how they're booting out Black generals. They fired the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They fired several high-ranking folks. And Hegseth now wants to cut the number by 20%, number of four-star generals and admirals, and I can guarantee you it's going to be a bullseye on the back of Black veterans in those ranks. Let's go to our panel. Derek, your question.
Yeah, Roland, thank you. My question, first off, I appreciate the work that you all are doing. As a retired naval officer, 22 years in the Navy, man, every time I hear this current administration coming after veterans, it just sickens me to death. This thing about June 14th, what can we do or you're planning to do that we can do across the United States to stop this military parade? Roland mentioned anywhere between $50 to $100 million. What can we do to stop this parade?
It's supposed to be a celebration of the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. It's really Trump giving an excuse. Remember, he wanted the same thing during the first time, but he was advised by the Pentagon as well as Washington, D.C., dude, you're going to tear up the streets in D.C. with tanks rolling down. They're not built for that particular purpose. And they had some big fireworks deal. He still owes Washington, D.C. about $6 million even for that. And so do understand there's a cost involved. I'll be honest, what I've actually said to some Democrats, I said, y'all should skip that. I said, and in fact, my suggestion was, they should hold a separate celebration on the 250th anniversary, and they should make it about the soldiers and their families. Because the people who, and I was talking to a retired two-star general who said, man, I love that idea. He said, because it's not just the soldiers who serve, their families serve as well. So while Trump is over here, frankly, pleasuring himself, I'm gonna call that military masturbation. That's what I'm gonna call it. I think that there could be a different celebration where you're actually focused on the veterans and their families as opposed to showcasing the missiles and the armory like we're in North Korea or in the Soviet Union.
Absolutely, and there are protests. We have not set up any, but there are protests that will be going on during that day throughout the country. And then also there will be other things going on around the country because people are tired of this, right? So you have almost $100 million for this parade, but you want to cut, I think yesterday Collins said, oh, we cut $14 million in DEI. I'm like, okay, well, what the hell is DEI? You know what I'm saying? So are you talking about DEI? Are you talking about Black women, LGBTQ jobs in the VA? Like, what are you talking about? And so I think it's really important for us to fight back and say, no, we don't support this.
And I think, Common Defense is working on a plan, right? But we're actually going to put it out to the people. But we encourage everybody to join. It's time to get off the couch, especially for our Black veterans, because everything is up for grabs, right? Our benefits, our care, and so we can't sit on the sidelines anymore, right? So you can join Common Defense. There's a bunch of organizations out there, and even Common Defense has joined, Roland, and I think you're part of this, the State of the People Tour, right? We're a national partner for that, and so for Juneteenth, we're supposed to come together for celebrations, right? And so with our partnership with them, we handle the veteran portions of those events, and so I think there's a lot. Common Defense, there's a lot of organizations out here, but I don't think there's anything we can do to stop right now what he wants to do, right? He's going to spend the money, but we need to counteract it, right? We need to be out here in the streets. We need to coalition build and come together, right? At this point, it's us versus Trump, right? And that's how we got to see it, and we got to hold people accountable. That's why we've been on the Hill this week, and we're taking names and we're taking notes, and if not, we're gonna run veterans against you, right? Maybe the veterans need to come together,
absolutely,
and take over the country in the leadership roles, right? Because we've been properly trained to lead, right? And to stick to rules and regulations and to govern with a moniker of, when I was deployed, we had rules of engagement, right? Even when we had an enemy combatant, we couldn't just do anything to them, right? But we have less freedom now under this regime, and we can't stand for it. The VA is not for sale, that's why we're here.
Daniel?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for your service. Shout out to my father-in-law, David Bullock, and his service to the military and the veterans in our family. My question is, since 2001, we've seen over 140,000 deaths by suicide by veterans in our country. And while we hear about the cuts and all these things that are happening, I think what's more important than anything else is how can we organize with the veterans? Because let's just be honest, a lot of the work that's being done around the country is done in silos. And unless you have military veterans in your family like myself, some people don't see the motivation in standing with veterans. So could you speak to the average person about why veterans and the organizing around you being veterans, the traumatic brain injuries that lead to over 58% of veteran deaths? These are all things that people don't realize. And I want to make sure that you tell us, how can we support you, especially civilians that do not have veterans in their families?
So the first thing that individuals can do is reach out to us at commondefense.us. And if there are veterans in the audience, just like one of the guests here, if you do commondefense.us/join, you can join us. We have various caucuses. We have the Latino caucus. We have the Women Veterans Caucus. We have the Black Veterans Caucus. We're working on several other caucuses because we know that we are a dynamic group, and we want to make sure that we're serving all veterans. And then also educating civilians, those who haven't served, that we need allies, just like they needed allies during the Civil Rights Movement. We need allies. We need dollars. I mean, it costs money to bring almost 70 veterans to Washington, D.C. for an entire week, feeding us, our lodging, our travel. And so, if you're so inclined to support us and donate at commondefense.us, that'll be great. We're one of less than a handful of progressive veteran organizations that are out here fighting back, saying, hell no, we're not on our watch. We're not going to allow this to happen. And we definitely need civilians, those people who are in places of power, those who are in legislative roles, school boards, things of that nature, to come alongside us and help us fight. It takes every single one of us.
Yeah, and I want to add, it used to be a time in this country where hands off the military and hands off veterans. And I don't think we're currently in those times. And so we need the people to speak. We need the people to join us in this fight. Listen, you could go to your local VA hospital for what I care about, right? And go talk to veterans. And when you hear these stories, veterans don't want much, right? We just want what we were promised. Mm-hmm. We were promised things if we served with dignity and respect, and we all did that. Like I said, I'm a two-time Iraq and Afghanistan war veteran. 20 years ago, as a 22-year-old, I was on the tail end of my first deployment, where we saw a lot. And we came back with physical and mental disabilities and issues that a lot of people don't understand and don't see. And that's fine. That might not be your fight. But what I can ask you to do is to join us. You know somebody that has served, and it's time for us all to coalition build and stand up for what is right. Because what's going on right now is absolutely wrong, and we can't stand for it any longer.
A bunch of folks are asking also in the chat where to get these shirts.
Well, first you got to join.
You have to be a member of Black.
First you got to join, and me and Vidia will send you a shirt personally. We'll send you the shirt.
All right, y'all need to leave one for me here.
We did.
Y'all did? Where is it?
We got.
We got VA not for sale.
We got the not for sale one, but
we'll get you a Black
get you a Black Veteran Caucus
one. So bring me the VA. Let me hold it up.
Okay.
Oh, and we got you a coin.
And we got you a coin, which is a high
veterans,
honor.
So we believe in coins.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. All right, let's see here. All right, said Department of Veteran Affairs, not for sale. So if folks want this shirt, where do they go?
Okay, so we're going to tell the team to get this up quickly on
y'all got to be set. Y'all talking about y'all got to raise money getting folks here. I need to show y'all how to raise money.
Let's go. Show us how to do it. But go to commondefense.us and you can get the shirts. We'll make sure the Black veteran shirts are up there for purchase. And you can donate and join the fight. We want to see you. We want you to join our caucus.
What's the site again?
commondefense.us.
All right.
And then if you go on Facebook, we do have a Black Veterans Caucus Facebook page.
We got IG, Instagram.
Yeah.
All right, we're on the website. And so to give, you just give straight to Common Defense.
Yes.
Yes.
So if y'all go, Common Defense, so you see right here, you got a donate button, and then they can do PayPal, Google Pay. So you see all the different amounts right here. And so there you go. All right. Joy.
Look, I know we're at the end, but let me ask you this. What are you all doing to convince the 6 in 10 veterans who voted for Donald Trump? How are you bringing them into the fold? How are you partnering with them so that they see themselves with you, because in many respects, they have betrayed your trust and are doing the unthinkable for veterans, which is leaving you behind. And leaving other veterans behind, regardless of rank.
I'm gonna tell you what you gotta do. I mean, this is just being real. They gotta lose stuff.
And that,
I mean, I've had numerous conversations with people, and they're like, man, but folk gonna get hurt. I'm like, no, the only way those cultists are gonna wake up, because they think Donald Trump is the smartest, best thing in the world, they gonna have to lose their health care. They gonna, I don't want to say this, they gonna have to deal with a comrade who takes their own life because they couldn't make that phone call.
Exactly.
Because that's the same way with the terrorists and the farmers. These folk believe other people should get cut. They believe other people should be deported. And now they're having to deal with the reality. Unfortunately, that's the only thing that's going to get them to wake up to realize that they voted against their own interests.
Right. And it's funny that you said deported. So one of the things that we do, we partner with an organization called Black Deported Veterans. We're actually working with a family of military member Marlon Parrish. So I want to put his name out there in Arizona. He is detained by ICE this year, and Common Defense is working with him to get that information out there. A lot of people do not know that veterans are being deported from this country more so under this current regime and his previous administration than ever before. And so we're working with Black deported veterans to put the word out there. People don't know that if someone came here as a child, they served the country and they're thinking, okay, this is a path to citizenship. Right. And then next thing you know, here comes ICE running up on you and you're in an ICE detention center. People don't know that the veterans are being deported. So that's something else.
So you said Black deported veterans, is that what it is?
Black deported veterans.
Get the information to Carol so we can have them on and talk about it. Because, yeah, that's another part of this conversation that folks aren't having. And there was a whole bunch of Simple Simon Negroes who were trumpeting Trump and who were saying, oh, yeah, they can't deport us. And there's some black folks out there who are so anti-immigrant, but these are folks who actually served this nation and volunteered. And that's who you should not be trying to send out, but that's what we're dealing with right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think to answer your question, I think, sometimes you got to leave people where they are until they're ready to come join you. But I do think that there's a population of veterans that are sitting on the sideline, and I think we need to go get them. And I believe if we go get the veterans sitting on the sideline together, collectively, we can change minds because we serve with these individuals. And I'll tell you, when I was in the mountains of Afghanistan, political ideologies didn't matter. I wanted to come home, right? I wanted to make it home, and Afghanistan was my worst deployment. And so I believe that if we start talking to fellow veterans and really get to them, they'll change their mind because they'll start to see like, oh, no, your benefits is gone. This VA hospital closed. Oh, they come in for concurrent. They come in for your retirement check because they think you make too much. And so when, like you said, once it comes down your lane.
So a lot of those vets they were voting against trans. They were voting against DEI. They were voting against. They were talking about securing the border, not realizing that you allowed the Trojan horse to come in to jack you. And so look, that's why we have the shirt called hashtag we tried to tell you FAFO 2025. Because it's like, oh, y'all got Project 2025? Now it's FAFO 2025.
Right, 100%.
Because these folks are now realizing they were voting against their own interests.
100%.
And then it's like, oh my God, I can't tell you how many stories I've read. I can't believe he did it to me. Yeah. We tried to tell you.
And it's not going to stop.
No.
And even when you said DEI, a lot of people don't know really who falls into that range, right? Because it's
veterans fall underneath that.
Yes, we do.
Here's what people don't understand about diversity, equity, inclusion. There are numerous programs. There are federal contracting programs. There are hiring programs that specifically give vets a leg up over other people. Those programs are also being targeted. So all these fools yelling DEI, they really thinking black people.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's a whole bunch of white vets now going, oh my God, what happened? We see?
FAFO.
I even reached out to
FAFO.
I reached out to an organization that does retreats and outings for women veterans who have PTSD. So I live with PTSD. And they told me, sadly, we lost the grant because it was specifically for women.
There you go. So, and I keep saying to them white women, need to get y'all ass off the couch. Stop. No, seriously, because what I keep saying to these white women, black people are ones who have been carrying this ball. White women have benefited more from affirmative action than anybody else.
100%.
And the only way this changes if they get the hell off their asses and stand up and not think that black people are going to be the ones who are going to be carrying this thing forward. And you're absolutely right. I'm telling you, if veterans in this country, with the number of vets in this country, if they rise up and begin to protest and put pressure, they could force these Republicans to buckle and go against Donald Trump, because they also know folks are going to vote.
100%. 100%.
All right, so commondefense.us, show the webpage again, go to the webpage. Y'all can get there. And again, y'all gonna get with y'all people. Y'all need to get this shirt up. Y'all need to get this shirt up on the website for sale real soon. And then folks wanna know how to get, and so here's this. So y'all shirts are Black Veterans Caucus. So y'all need to have on the left side, I stand with.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That way,
I love it.
if they not a veteran,
Then they get 100%, and we get them dollars. We get them coins.
There y'all go. So y'all better send me the first one when y'all print that shirt.
We definitely will.
All right, we appreciate it. And then get some information on the
Black deported veterans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, we appreciate it. Keep the pressure on.
We will.
Thank you,
You
Roland.
know we will. Every day. All right, y'all, going to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network, where I ain't got no boss.
This week on the other side of change.
Mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
On the next, A Balanced Life, we're talking soul and soul food. The kitchen is the heart of the home. So many memories that are there, the things we've learned, the recipes that we've tried to garner and to somewhat figure out how to cook ourselves. There's something about the kitchen and family and being at the table that brings us all joy. We're going to be joined by some amazing guests who are going to talk to us about how do we keep tradition alive and what are we doing for the culture.
The traditions and the gathering and the warmth and security, those memories are super important. And we have to, make sure that those continue to happen. So no matter how we get in the kitchen or around the food, I just want you there.
That's all next on A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, we're talking about the difficulty of being able to acquire wealth for Black Americans. My guest, Emily Flitter, is the author of The White Wall: How Big Finance is Bankrupting Black Americans.
The bad stuff that you feel when you're dealing with the financial services industry is not your fault. It's not your fault, and you don't deserve to be treated like this.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Carl Payne pretending to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay. All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
Hundreds of schools across the country are scrambling since the idiots in the White House abruptly canceled $1 billion in federal grants for mental health services. These funds were created in the wake of the Uvalde school shooting in Texas to help school districts hire and train counselors, psychologists, and social workers to address the growing student mental health crisis. The Department of Education says the grants violated civil rights laws, arguing that efforts to diversify the mental health workforce amounted to race-based actions unrelated to student well-being, which is kind of stupid because if you understand health, you typically have black counselors and black doctors who have a better understanding of black people. Juanchez Miller, a school counselor on the front lines, joins us now to discuss these cuts. Juanchez, glad to have you here. So first, how have you personally been impacted by these cuts?
I'm a school-based mental health therapist, so I am actually within the school system providing therapy services for the children. And my job will end June 30th. And so the cuts have caused me to have to catapult into my own private business.
Okay, here's what's crazy. Every time there's a school shooting, these Republicans yell, it's not the gun, it's mental health. But they turn around and cut the mental health money.
That's correct.
That's just it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
Like, how do you cut the money to help deal with mental health to avoid the shooting and then go, hold on, we won't do nothing about the gun, it's the mental health?
Yeah.
I just don't understand it at all. I don't understand it at all. How are people fighting back? What are they saying? What are they doing?
So you hear the people or the workers talking. You hear the students asking why. You know, why are you leaving, or why are we not going to have this available? And so I can only just attest to the fact that you have to go to the school boards. You have to go to your local constituents to have them to rally and ask for the budget that the school has to be allotted for more school counselors or more student mental health therapists to be in the schools, along with the psychologists. And so it's about the people gathering together, their power in numbers. And so it's about the people gathering together to actually make a voice with the school boards, because the schools are funded by some of our tax dollars. And if the people in the community actually speak up and state that where they want their money to go, then I'm pretty sure the school board will hear them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a moment that requires people to fight. I was sitting here looking at this particular clip here, and Sarah Longwell, who is one of these Never Trumpers, and she was talking about what people are looking for, what the public is looking for from Democrats. And, you know, we were having this discussion yesterday, and what she's saying is that it's not about policy. They actually want to see folks fighting back. Listen to this.
Describe the mood of the country right now.
Country is not in a good mood, especially Democrats and independents and some Trump voters who voted for Trump specifically because they wanted him to lower prices. They wanted their grocery prices to go down. They wanted to have better housing opportunities. You know, they wanted him to do something positive for the economy. And so all the economic distress has people really freaked out.
Where you're talking on a panel about sort of where Democrats go from here. Yeah. Where do you think they go from here?
I think Democrats have to figure out not just how to be against Trump, but also who are they? What are they for? And the thing I hear from voters all the time, especially Democratic voters, is it's not a fight over whether Democrats become more moderate or more progressive. They want Democrats to be more aggressive. They want to see Democrats standing up to Donald Trump in this moment, pushing back, fighting. And it's not really related to policy. It's about posture and attitude, which is why you see people like Bernie Sanders and AOC, even though people may not be full on with them on their political positions, really being glad that they're out there.
Point there is the only way you have to fight this. It can't just be, they did what they did. No, it has to be a vigorous fight against these people. Go ahead. Go ahead. So your response to that. I mean, and so when I talk about, so are other counselors, are they trying to fight back? Are they mobilizing? Are they organizing? You know what is happening, or are people just saying, well, we don't have any power, we can't do anything?
So you have school counselors who are just as, they're just as stressed as and upset about things as well as anybody else. I come from the perspective of the school-based mental health therapist, which means that I am embedded in the school to provide therapy services to those children that are diagnosed or that I actually diagnosed with mental illness. And with that being said, that's needed because of the when the child is not regulated, when their emotions are not regulated, when they're having issues and they're dealing with trauma, when they are in situations in which they don't feel like they're supported, the therapist comes in, the school counselor comes in, the social worker comes in. We are a team and we help those children through those hard times, those challenging times in their lives. Because mind you, if the child is not regulated, if a child is not supported, how can they actually learn in the school system? And the whole point of the school system is to teach and educate. But how can the teachers teach and educate when the children need the emotional and social support that they're actually trying to take away because you're not funding the workers to provide the services for the children?
Indeed, it is just a constant battle. Juan Shez, we appreciate it. We hope folk rise up, and then also we hope Congress, especially Republicans, get some guts and restore these cuts.
Yes, we need to get out there and fight for our children.
All right, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Folks, speaking of fighting, man, black congressional members were just like swinging on these fools today. During the House Appropriations Subcommittee hearing, Maryland Congressman Glenn Ivey really put Treasury Secretary Scott Bassett on the spot about the hiring practices at Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, that fake department. The center of it, Marco Alez, a 25-year-old DOGE staffer who resigned after his disturbing racist social media post came to light. It was quite an intense back and forth. I enjoyed it myself. Roll it.
I appreciate you being here today, Mr. Secretary. I want to ask you a few questions about DOGE and the role it's playing at Treasury. You came into office, I guess you were sworn in on the 27th, was it? You were confirmed by the Senate on the 27th? Is that about right?
28th.
28th, okay. And then you started working at Treasury immediately after that? All right, and DOGE began working there as well with respect to the payment systems?
Two individuals from DOGE who were actually Treasury employees were on site.
Okay. And I believe you were approached by the highest ranking career official at Treasury, David Lebrick. Am I pronouncing his name correctly?
I believe it's Lebrick.
Lebrick, okay. What was the nature of that conversation? I assume this was about the DOGE issue, but tell me briefly what that conversation was about.
Well, that conversation was about a discussion of the payment system. And when I go back to what I didn't know, I think I walked in the office around 3 p.m. and I think he and I were having a conversation at 4:30, and
I got to ask for the short version.
Oh, no.
Okay.
But I will tell you that when we were talking about the tasks, that it was people like this individual who were hitting send on the payments. So, I've come to find out that he's part of the
Okay, I apologize. I'll have to get that later from you.
Yep.
Feel free to send in substance of the discussion in a letter. But I guess what I was going to ask was, you just mentioned there were two people who were working with respect to DOGE at the time.
Yes, sir.
And Mark Elez was one of those?
I'm not sure.
Not sure? You're not familiar with that name?
I don't recall that name. I interviewed Tom Krause and personally recommended him to work at Treasury.
Okay. Well, Mr. Elez had worked at Mr. Musk's SpaceX company. And the Wall Street Journal issued a story, I think around February 7th, that talked about statements that Mr. Elez had made in the prior year. One was, you could not pay me to marry outside my ethnicity. Another was that he wanted to normalize Indian hate. A third was, just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. And another was, I just want a eugenic immigration policy. Is that too much to ask? This man resigned shortly after that article was published, but you don't recall him being there?
Congressman, I did not recall that individual's name, but that individual was terminated.
He was terminated, okay. Well, I appreciate that. Although it appears that he then later turned up that he was rehired, I guess, and that he's continuing.
Not by Treasury, sir.
Okay, but he was continuing to do work for DOGE, but in this instance, HHS and 3 other departments? You have no idea.
I didn't follow his career.
Okay. Well, you didn't catch J.D. Vance saying that he didn't think he should be terminated? Did you miss that too?
I don't recall that.
All right. Do you recall Mr. Trump saying that he should have a second chance?
I don't recall that.
No. Okay. And do you recall Mr. Musk saying he should be given a second chance as well?
No, sir.
All right. Well, I guess the main question too here is, what exactly was the vetting practice that you had in place before you brought on these 2 people and gave them access to the payment system, which is $6 trillion?
Well, sir, they did not have access to the payment system, or perhaps we have a different definition of access. They only had read-only abilities, and they were there for tech support to look at the payment system, the ERP system, just like any private enterprise.
Is this an individual that you would have brought on even in that capacity if you'd known that he'd made these statements prior to him becoming part of that team?
Congressman, that I think it's very difficult to monitor everyone's social media.
That's not what I asked. If you knew that he had made these statements, would you have brought him on in the capacity that he had at the Department of Treasury?
I think the Office of Personnel Management would have flagged that.
Would you have brought him on?
Sir, again, I'm not going to speculate.
Man, ask the damn question. Well, that wasn't the only CBC member who got in his ass. Here is Congressman Greg Meeks hitting Bassett over declaring the trade deficit a national emergency. Listen.
Does trade deficits constitute a national emergency?
The hollowing out of the U.S. manufacturing
No, just yes or no.
Class,
yes or no. Yes or no.
It's a national emergency, sir.
It does. It does. You're telling me trade deficits equals a national or creates
persistent and prolonged.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And do you know also, sir, that for the last 4 decades, we've had trade deficits in the United States of America, and nobody said it was an emergency? Democratic and Republican presidents? You know what that says to me? That it's not an emergency because it hasn't been for 4 decades. It says to me that we should bring tariffs back to the United States Congress so that we can make that determination as the Constitution has said and not try to go around Congress. That's just unbelievable.
And then, of course, we have the Crockett Chronicles.
so much. It is so interesting that I just learned today at 44 years old that the Republicans are going to be the ones to save women. The same Republicans that have been saved for women's reproductive acts, or the same Republicans that have stood for the Equal Rights Act, which would hopefully get women to equal pay, or the same Republicans that just this Congress voted for the SAVE Act, which we know would disenfranchise women from even being able to vote. But let me tell you, they are our saviors, and so I am so happy to be here today, because otherwise I would not have an idea that I had a savior in the Republicans. So let's also talk about the fact that it's only been 100 days, 100 long, terrible days for anybody that absolutely believes in reality, because what we know is that they have terminated staff responsible for enforcing federal protections against sex-based discrimination. Sounds like that's pro-women. Or they've cut funding for domestic violence survivor services. Sounds pro-woman to me. Or they've prohibited funding for research affecting women's health. That definitely sounds pro-women to me. Essentially, they closed the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights. Again, sounds like they are fighting for us. And instead of providing oversight over these actions, congressional Republicans have been working to execute one of the most aggressive anti-women legislative agendas in history. And yet, they're here today trying to convince the American people that discriminating against trans people is somehow the only way to protect women. This hearing has nothing to do with improving government efficiency. It's another attempt by Republicans to distract from their demonic and disastrous policies that are making it more difficult for Americans to make ends meet. So, Ms. Goss-Graves, I want to play a game. It's called Trump or Trans. You ready? Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to tell me whether or not it is Trump or trans people that are responsible. You understand?
Got it.
Okay, very good. The first one, gutted medical research.
Trump.
Kidnapping Americans and sending them to foreign countries, a.k.a. deporting them.
Trump.
Driving us into a recession.
Trump.
Increasing the cost of everything.
Trump.
Waging an idiotic tariff war.
Trump.
Harming farmers.
Trump.
Ignoring the Constitution.
Trump.
Proposing to take away Social Security.
Trump.
Cutting health care.
Trump.
Firing government workers who keep our country safe.
Trump.
Encouraging an environment of hate and divisiveness.
Trump.
Thank you so much. This committee could be engaged in actual oversight of fraud, waste, abuse, and mismanagement. So let's talk about waste. Like Trump's plan to spend almost $100 million for his little birthday parade, or how he spent 25% of his first 100 days golfing, costing taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. In fact, it's a little bit over $30 million at our last estimation. In fact, President Trump is on pace to spend more than $1 billion of taxpayer dollars just on golfing. Yet the Republicans have been silent. So they must think spending taxpayer dollars on the president's golfing trips is more important than providing health care to their constituents. And when I talk about constituents, we're going to talk about the ones on this committee. So if we look at Texas 26, 39,000 children look to potentially lose their Medicaid with the cuts that they are about to vote on for reconciliation. 88,000 in Georgia 3, 68,000 in Missouri 7, 79,000 in Tennessee 2, 86,000 in South Carolina 4, 50,000 in Texas 04, 85,000 in Texas 27, and in Georgia 14, 111,000. And if you add that up just on this committee, we have 606,000 kids that are relying on us to do right by them. And instead, we playing these crazy games because we worried about 10 trans folk that are in sports right now in college. I wasn't elected to be engaged in these fights. I was elected to make sure that those kids, the kids that they are about to neglect with these terrible votes that they're about to take, I was elected to protect them and to make sure that they could grow up and have all the opportunities. But let's keep on track. Now, when we look at how much they are spending on, let's look at fraud. We could investigate whether the White House and the members of this subcommittee engaged in insider trading and market manipulation. Maybe it's a coincidence that the chairwoman brought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stock the day before Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs. But I guess we'll never know. So finally, let's talk about abuse. Like how the Republicans have let Elon steal data of Americans and his competitors to make himself even richer. Look, don't let these hearings distract you from their destruction. This is rage baiting instead of conducting oversight over the issues that Americans actually care about. And with that, I will yield.
I think my congresswoman from Texas was just in that ass. Let me put on my Savannah State shades. I must say, Derek, she broke that thing down, and all three of them just had the Trump folk just running today.
Roland, this is the fight we need to do all the time. We need to check these Republicans. My question is, to all the Republicans who are under the sound of my voice that's watching Roland Martin's show, where is the waste, fraud, and abuse? Because that's the purpose of this illegal, unsanctioned agency they call Department of Government Efficiency. Where's the DOGE has yet to find any efficiency, Roland. Because if they would have identified some waste, fraud, and abuse, they would have put it on Front Street. They would have said the lack of resources here or ineffective management there. The only thing DOGE has identified, Roland, is the inefficiency of Trump and Musk. Period. I mean, they said DOGE is going to help us stimulate economic growth. That's wrong because it's quite the opposite. DOGE is going to help us improve public services. Wrong again, because they negatively impact our healthcare, our education, our transportation, and everything else under the federal government. They said DOGE is going to help us increase public trust and transparency. Well, we would love to see that, because Marjorie got $283,000. They said DOGE is going to help reduce corruption. And we see corruption every weekend down in Mar-a-Lago. He said DOGE is going to help us do cost saving, enhance innovation, improve the environment, stability, and social equity. DOGE continue to demonstrate that the swamp was brought in over 100 days ago.
If you're going to swing, Joy, swing.
But you best not miss when it comes to Jasmine Crockett. And frankly, any of, our congressional representatives that you saw in those exchanges, no matter what their style is, we saw, a calmer style in some of the early representatives, and then we got all the brilliant fire in the end. And she was going up against my good friend Fatima Goss-Graves, who was also prepared. Her testimony was great. If you are so inclined, I hope you to go back and listen to the substantive part of the testimony being provided to just remind you of how ridiculous it is that their obsession with trans people allows us to spend precious time worrying about attacking and then forcing people into a posture of having to defend not only trans people, but this is sliding scale. Their focus on trans people is because they want to do more on gender and they want to do more on women. White women, pay attention. Any of the focus on trans people is about rolling back the protections that are around gender. And they wouldn't be doing all this for trans people. There are not enough of them. They're doing it because they're laying the legal groundwork to get you. They want to get you back in the house. They want to make it more difficult for you to work. What they have not done, Jasmine Crockett already talked about what they are doing to harm women, but what they have not done was actually advance the causes of women. Paid leave, equal pay, affordable child care, and equal rights amendment. None of that. Haven't heard any proactive policies about that. These people are fraudulent. They are not focused on the things that you think they're focused on, but it also serves the groundwork for what they really want, which is a rollback of advancements for women of all races and of people of color. Be prepared for it.
Daniel?
I mean, how do I go after Joy? I mean, she pretty much just said exactly what needed to be said. And then, to add as a caveat, we see the current president wanting to give $5,000 or fine $5,000 for women to stay home and have babies. I mean, I think that it's important that we recognize that this is not something that is done systematically just over the last 3 or 4 months. This is a plan that has taken place for a long time. Look, I'll go as far, and some people may not like this, but in 1933, prior to the to World War II, a part of Nazi Germany's strategy was to completely dismantle education, social structures, women's rights. I mean, these are all areas that we can reflect on over a historic past that is still recorded. They can ban as many books as we want, but history itself has shown us that the same playbook that we're seeing today by disenfranchising women, taking money away from the mental health of our children. Look, since COVID, all the way to where we are today, we have seen so many attacks against children and their ability to survive. And I want to go back really, really quickly to what the sister said earlier from the veterans group. Look, there are 133 suicides per day, and 17 of those are veterans. But the fastest growing groups of suicide is our children. And so we have to understand that whether it's an attack against our women, our children's education, or anything that we've talked about over the last hour and a half, we have to understand that this is a part of a bigger picture to disenfranchise the vote, disenfranchise our society, and quite frankly, break down our current democracy, which is imperfect, to build something much worse.
Well, we see exactly what's going on. And again, if you're going to sit here and swing, you swing. I was trying to find this clip on which one of my phones I had it on. It was this great scene from the movie Double Take, Orlando Jones, Eddie Griffin. And Orlando Jones said, "You campaigning for an ass whooping and you about to get elected."
Yeah.
I love that line. I'll be right back.
This week on the other side of change.
Mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder on Disney+. And you're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Well, folks, drama at Jackson State. Anthony, go to my iPad. The president of Jackson State, Marcus Thompson, has resigned. This piece from Mississippi Today says, for the second time in 3 weeks, the state university's governing board met to discuss a personnel matter related to the historically black university. No reason was given as to why he resigned. They met for 2 hours. In April, the board also met for 2 hours. They released a statement that no personal action had been taken against him. He was hired late 2003 after his predecessor, Thomas Hudson, resigned after serving 3 years in that position. And so now he is out. So we'll see what's happening at Jackson State. Now, let's talk about Florida A&M. You have a lot of drama going on there for a president search, and a lot of alumni are unhappy. They believe that Ron DeSantis and the Republicans are trying to do a takeover of the school. In fact, Leon County Commissioner is calling on the FAMU board to resign over this. That's right. Leon County Commissioner Bill Proctor calling on 8 members of the Florida A&M Board of Trustees to resign after they voted to continue a controversial search for the next university's president. Right now, as we speak, they are holding a town hall at Bethel AME Church so they can formulate their response. To the Board of Trustees is not invited to the meeting, and the event is not sanctioned by FAMU. And so that's what's going on. Say it's crazy. So it's just absolutely crazy what's going on. Just more drama. And so this is what you see here. The 4 finalists for the job, and a lot of people are suggesting that they're saying that the board made all of these different changes. So Marva Johnson could be one of the 4 finalists, and folks are saying that she simply is unqualified for the job. My understanding is that you're going to have some major Florida A&M alumni come out tomorrow going against this search. We'll have those details for you. One of the things that I said to folks, Daniel, on numerous occasions, when we talked about what was happening with HBCUs, when you look at our largest HBCUs, they're state universities. And the reality is they're in red states. If you look at Texas Southern University, Prairie View A&M, that's in Texas. Greg Abbott, governor, controls that. You look at Alabama State, Alabama A&M, that's Kay Ivey, the governor of Alabama. When you look at Jackson State, that's Tate Reeves, Republican governor there. When you look at, luckily in North Carolina, you have a Democratic governor there. But when you look at Florida, same thing. The governor controls what happens there. And so I need people to understand that our HBCUs can very well be impacted by the MAGA politics in these states and what's happening nationally.
100%. Look, I'm an alum of Clark Atlanta University. My wife is an alum of Spelman College. When I served under the Biden administration, myself and Administrator Michael Regan were both alums. He went to North Carolina A&T. I went to Clark Atlanta again. So I think what we need to understand is when you think of HBCUs, they have already in a massive way been on the decline for years because of a lack of funding. So it does them no help to have adversarial governors or individuals in leadership. When we were in my former role, when I was in Jackson, Mississippi, bringing resources, over $600 million to help with water infrastructure in Jackson, we worked in tandem with the HBCU there, and we had Governor Reeves in 2 counties over making fun and mocking Jackson, Mississippi, hoping for their downfall and mocking the actions that were being taken by Jackson State University. Instead of these individuals leading, we're seeing this time within our society where they are looking at HBCUs and trying to throw everything under this umbrella of DEI, and they are willingly and committing themselves to dismantling of these institutions. And let's not forget about Tennessee State University. Each of these are following the same playbook. We have to not be distracted. I have no doubt in my mind that at some point there will be retribution. Let's get out of the South and look at Howard University because of its affiliation with former Vice President Harris. So when we think of all the things that are happening, we have to understand that this is not a time for us to play politics with our institutions. They have educated some of the best and brightest judges, elected officials, film producers, entertainment producers, politicians, you name it. We have graduated those individuals from HBCUs, and they can't fail, falter, or fall under our watch, especially for those of us in southern states.
Derek?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Daniel and Roland. You know, we've said it on your show, the fight we had when it comes to funding and resources. Fort Valley State, right here in Georgia, where the Republicans have kept $600 million. And the previous administration, President Biden said, we all got to add, we got to pay these funds. Unfortunately, that never happened. But the bottom line is this is strategic. They've been going after HBCUs since after the American Civil War. And so we got to make sure that we protect and preserve our HBCUs. They are the ones where we matriculated and created the doctors, the lawyers, and attorneys and the lights. Because if we don't, 10, 15, 20 years from now, we will not have any HBCUs in the South.
Joy?
That's right. You know what? This is a time, we don't have forever. It feels like Donald Trump's going to be there forever. He's not going to be there forever. We have to make sure we get through the next few years and to make that period as short as possible. But if whatever ecosystem you're a part of, if you're an HBCU grad, as I am, as many of us on this call are, you have to support your university. You have to hold them accountable. You have to give money. If you give money, you'll have more influence. You have to do these things. You have to come together, find a way to mobilize and turn your alumni base into a political action base, even if it's unofficial, right? You can be making sure that you are asking everyone to engage with their elected officials. You don't have to give any details to change your tax status. Just saying you want HBCU alumni calling in, not just voting. Our level of responsibility is higher. We have to give, and we have to call in, we have to engage, not just vote. We are required to do more. That's what's incumbent on this moment to do. If you are leading an HBCU, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. That's a tough job, especially if you're in a red state. But don't do anything in this short period that would make people not want to attend you in the future, not want to engage with you in the future because your reputation is tarnished. You're going to have to figure out ways perhaps to act in partnership, perhaps to work with some others to get some help to figure out how to navigate this particular moment. Survive, but do so in a way that leaves you respected on the other end, because there are other options. And those students will go to those other options. Who stands up against Trump? Who stands up against abuse in this moment will be transformative and important. And don't forget, a university is still a political figure and someone with influence over members of Congress. So don't leave, your influence on the table when it comes to reaching out to some of these Republican offices, letting them know that you are their constituent, your students who can vote are your constituents, and more importantly, your alumni are your constituents.
Well, I think people need to understand that, again, what you have here is you have these universities, in these red states, you have, these governors that control the boards of trustees. And the bottom line is Florida A&M is a state university. Ron DeSantis is the governor, and people need to be very mindful of even black Republicans who might be on that board of trustees making decisions not in the best interest of Florida A&M, but in the interest of Ron DeSantis. So folks just need to be aware of that. So we're going to keep y'all abreast of what happens at Florida A&M. Going to a quick break. We come back. Our Tech Talk segment. right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Breeding Fuck fan club. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen, or go to blackstarnetwork.com. Also, send your checking money order. Make it out to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle. Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Now streaming on the Black Star Network.
In France, me and Tony, and accidentally went to the Louvre, right? I had never been, and I saw a side door. And we got off the little bus. I said, come on, Tony, let's go to the Louvre. I mean, I'm just like, let's go to the Louvre, right?
We're here.
This black girl is at the door with this white guy, black African girl. And she says, oh my God, Vanessa Bell Calloway. And I'm like this, you know me? And come to find out we were at the wrong door. But she said, I'm gonna let you just go in here. But I was in Paris, France. And that shocked me. She knew my name, she knew me. She knew my movie. You know, so it's like, you just gotta, they say, build and they will come. Put it out there, people will find it, they will come.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder Disney Plus, and I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Folks, since the internet has blown up, stock images has been a billion-dollar business. Now there's a new company that wants to change that. When you look at a lot of the stock images out there, you don't find many black folks. You don't find people of color. And so as a result, this company says, you know what? We want to change that. Joining us right now, Steve Jones, founder and CEO of POC Stock, and Deshaun Brown, co-founder of the company as well. So POC Stock, exactly what is it?
Hey, thank you, Roland. It's exactly what you just described. So we're a global stock photography platform centered around positive images of people of color. For many decades, a lot of the largest stock companies did not include people of color in their libraries as a top priority. So Deshaun and I both came from advertising and marketing, and we were always looking to find images that made us look, authoritative, in a leadership position, positive, loving, caring human beings. And it was very difficult to find images that told the stories that we experience every day in our regular lives. So we decided to do something about it. It's a global problem, so we decided to start a global company to address it because it's just not Black Americans here in the States. We do this work across 65 countries, and it plays out no matter where you go, where there are always people who are going to be underrepresented when it comes to imagery and media. And as you know, an image is worth 1,000 words, so they're very influential in terms of how people see us and how we see ourselves. So we wanted to make sure not only are the images featuring melanated people, we wanted to make sure that the images are stereotype free, and the images are truly positive, so we can help impact the next generation of people of color coming up so they can see themselves in a beautiful light.
So what are we talking about here when we talk about images? Is it video? Is it just photos? And again, for people who don't understand stock, if y'all have some of the photos, y'all go ahead and roll them. What we're talking about is, and again, we do this all the time. If you look at when we even utilize AI for some of this as well, in terms of creating African Americans in different settings. And what people don't understand is people see these stock photos everywhere, in commercials, in ads. They see them on websites. They see them slide presentations. I mean, it's ubiquitous these days in media.
Yeah, Absolutely. It's a 30-year-old industry, $4 billion a year industry, and stock images are everywhere. It's the images you see when you go to your ATM screen, when you go to your favorite website, the brochures you see in your doctor's office. It's everywhere. The difference between what we're doing is we're also making sure that there are people of color behind the lens capturing the images so that they can have an opportunity to monetize the usage and the licensing of those imagery. Everyone's engaged with a stock photo at some point. Whether you're interacting with your favorite brand or if you're a business owner and you're looking for those images for your website, it's a more economic way than hiring people to do a photo shoot. It always has been. But the main point is that you mentioned AI, and over the next year or so, AI is going to be responsible for about 80% of the images on the internet, but AI relies on data. So when you go back to all of those stock photography platforms that did not have enough images of people of color, that's what AI is learning from, right? So AI is learning that people of color are not necessarily the top priority, right? So if you type in CEO in an AI platform, you're not going to get someone that looks like me, you, or Deshaun, or so that's what we're also looking to solve.
Gotcha. And first of all, so Deshaun, cost, but what is it? So who are you targeting to subscribe to this service?
Most of our customers and clients represent global advertising agencies, brands, and corporations. That's where you see the biggest spend in terms of media. That's what you see in terms of the biggest influence in terms of marketing and advertising. And to Steve's point, I think the images represent the output. What we also represent is the voice within those marketing teams, within those creative rooms, within those production rooms, to make sure that not only do they have a platform to select the images, but they know which images are going to be culturally relevant and accurate to use for their marketing and advertising.
Got it. What has been the response so far?
Love it. I think what Steve and I think witness every day is someone saying, I wish I would have solved this 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So I don't think we've ever met a client or a customer or a studio who hasn't said, hey, I absolutely do not need this. Everyone needs images. Everyone needs to connect with their audiences in a culturally relevant and accurate way. So the response has been tremendous across the board. The response has also been tremendous with creators of color who now feel like they have an opportunity to capture images of people from their communities that look like them and have those images represented in billboards and social media ads and websites as well.
So, Anthony, go to my iPad. So this, you have collections of color, and so you got different curated stuff. So, Dear Mama, May is for mothers, The Grass is Greener, Black Girls Rock, Black Don't Crack, Mommy and Me, Asian Lifestyle, Healthy Living. Then you got lifestyle, travel, young people, families, pet lovers, celebrities, men, LGBTQ, business, Hispanic, and others. What is the? So I'm on here. So you obviously people can sign up. And so they can become a contributor, supposed to become a model, all of that. But you also have an investment campaign going as well. And so you are. So you says. So here you raised $84,000 from investors. It says your first goal is hit. So what are you? What are you placing? What do you? How much are you trying to hit with this next round?
So to date, we've raised about 1.7 million across several rounds. This particular round, we're looking to do 5 million. And we have access to high net worth individuals, institutional investment companies, but we wanted to make sure that this round was inclusive of everyone that looked like us. So normally in our larger rounds, it may be a $10,000, $25,000 minimum to get in. This one, we made sure that it was as low as $250. So anyone could go to wefunder.com/POC invest $250, and that gets you shares of stock in POC stock. We did not want this round to just be for the rich and the tech savvy, because we're now positioning ourselves to be a unique provider of AI data, and that's going to be a $7 trillion contributor to GDP over the next 10 years. And we want to make sure that people that look like us are not just consumers of AI, not consumers of these platforms, but also beneficiaries of it as it starts to generate wealth for other folks.
Questions from the panel. Daniel, go.
First of all, I want to say thank you to both of you brothers because my wife is a designer and I understand how hard it is to find stock images and photos. When I ran my political campaign, even as a candidate currently, these are things that we look for. So my question to you is, what do you see as the long-term fix as it relates to the intersection of AI and content? Because to your point, the data is being constructed. The AI is making predictive decisions based on that. And if we don't have more of what you guys are doing, or we don't flood the market with it, in the next decade, when my children are making decisions and, they're running their own companies, they're going to be in the very similar position where those images and the AI may still not align with our culture. So what is it that we can do proactively in two areas? One, from a policy standpoint, and two, as a general consumer.
Yeah, so those are both great questions. So we're actually working on both fronts. So we're on the board of an organization that helps to put forward policies and around copyrights and licensing. So we're on the board of this organization to try to help impact those decisions and put standards in place on AI, because right now most AI companies operate independently. There is no set of standards that governs the entire industry at this point. So folks like us, we get into the conversations to make sure that they're ethical, inclusive AI data that goes into these platforms. Now, the point about in the future where our kids are starting their own businesses and making decisions, we look at it a little differently. We look at in the future where AI is making those decisions that impact us, and we weren't included in phase one of the data that they use to then learn more about us and to make those decisions. So we're trying to get out in front of it as early as possible, to scale our company to the point where we have impact and we can set standards that affect us globally. So I'm not sure if Deshaun wants to add anything to it, but those are really great questions. And right now we're so early stage in AI that we have the opportunity to help shape it for the next generation.
I would add, I think, Steve, great points in terms of ethics of compensation. So making sure that companies like PocSoc, creators that PocSoc employs and contracts, are fairly compensated for their contribution to making sure that data from an AI perspective, from a training perspective, is more inclusive. So we advocate wholeheartedly for both fair ethical use and fair compensation. In terms of general consumers, I would say I think everyone should get involved in the technology just to understand what is currently out there. And you could work with companies like PocSoc, whether it's contributing content or being a model for content, to make sure that people like you, causes that may mean something to you, or communities where you come from, are represented in that data set. But general consumers, especially people of color, just have to get involved, because this is a rapidly developing technology that's just going to leave some folks behind, quite candidly. And PocSoc is a means to make sure that you are integrated into the future of AI and images.
Joy?
Well, first of all, I use Adobe Stock a lot, so I'm thrilled to see this and look forward to using your product and replacing my Adobe Stock account, because I'm gonna tell you what, the images are limited, especially when you get granular, right? I'm a plus size Black woman, so sometimes if I'm looking for a Black woman, whether working, whether in the field, whatever we're doing, I want to see plus size women who look like me, and it's often hard to find that. So I encourage you to think, it looks like you've already done it, but just to even think more dynamically in terms of what it means to be diverse. I love that. I love that you're talking about how much you're compensating. How are you getting with the groups of folks who will be using those images? All of our sororities, fraternities, churches, et cetera, they use stock images for their materials. Any sophisticated person, and not just people of color, but starting with us so that we can begin spreading the word. What is your marketing plan?
Mr. Brown?
Oh, I would say it's very much grassroots. We've got a community of about 300 creators, producers, and directors. And we essentially ask everyone to get into their local communities. POCSOC was always about community and being community driven and grassroots driven. So it's attending conferences, festivals. I think we're going to be at Cannes Lion in about 6 weeks or so, where we meet with a bunch of Black media companies and publishers and creators, where we really spread the word about, one, how to access POCSOC, two, how to get their affinity groups and local communities and local creator communities involved. Again, whether it's creating content, contributing content, or being represented in the content as model, or candidly just using the content for their campaigns.
Derek.
Well, since Daniel and Joy asked all the great questions, my question is real simple. How do I invest in your company?
You go to WeFunder, WeFunder.com/POCStock, or you can go to WeFunder and search for POCStock in the search bar, and just create a WeFunder account. You can find POCStock and invest as little as $250 or as much as you can afford. And you can also find other startups as well. WeFunder is one of the largest crowdfunding platforms in the world. So they have about a million plus investors in their base. So that's why we chose WeFunder. It's a great platform. It's easy to use. And it's easy to invest in startup companies like POCStock, especially at our early stage.
All right, gentlemen, we appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
All right, let me thank Daniel, Joy, and Derek for being on today's show, joining the panel. I certainly appreciate y'all being on here. Folks, hold tight, because when we come back, we're going to have my one-on-one interview with Vanessa Bell Calloway. She has been in the acting business for a very long time, and now she's like, hey, let's focus on behind the scenes and not just in front of the camera. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You could contribute via Cash App. This is the QR code right here via Stripe. You can also use that code for credit card processing. Check a money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. So you're checking money order to make it out to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Mail it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Stud Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Don't forget to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Stud Network swag, and so get your shirts. And go to RolandMartin.creator-spring.com. The QR code's there as well. Also, don't forget, download the app Fanbase, and you can get that as well. Or if you want to invest, startengine.com/fanbase. We're going to roll right into it. Here's my conversation with the wonderful, talented, smart, gorgeous, and black just don't crack, Vanessa Bell Calloway. Here's Rolling with Roland. Holla! So, Vanessa, what's happening?
Hey, Roland, what's up?
First of all, you're looking good.
Hanging in there.
So, tell Tony good job.
Tell me good job.
No. See, here's the whole deal. Whenever it's a brother looking good, they always give the woman credit.
Of course.
And I'm like, but when a woman looking good, she get the credit. Now, forget that. I'm giving him the credit.
All right, I let him have it.
Are you gonna let him have it?
Well, he does have a big part of it.
That's what I'm saying.
He keeps me happy.
I'm saying. Every time I see Susan Taylor, I'm like, oh my God, Susan, you're looking so great. And I'm like, oh, Keffer don't get no shout out? But when they look at Keffer, like, oh, Susan. Oh,
Keffer looks great.
Oh, you take care of your man. I was like, nah, y'all got to give brother some love. So that's why every time I see Tony, I'm like, Tony, you handling your business. You looking good. You doing your job.
He's doing good. He keeps me happy, so that's half the battle, right?
Let me ask you this question. I'm trying to figure out, who is the biggest black mama in Hollywood? You or Jennifer Lewis? I swear.
Well, of course, I'm going to say me. She going to say her. Well, but I'll say there's enough of us. Everybody got to have a mama. If you're lucky, your mama's still alive. And they got all these beautiful babies out here doing all these wonderful projects. And they need mamas. Jennifer can't be everybody's mama, neither can I. But I'm gonna try to take them as many. I got so many children. I'll go to a party. I'm like, son, daughter. Here's my daughter went to some event recently, and she saw one of my TV sons. She said, "Well, I guess we're related."
I mean, think about it. I mean, I've seen so many films, and you somebody's mama.
Yeah. I'm somebody's mama for real, so who better to play the part? I'm two somebody's mamas.
See, I was get a kick out of that because again, there's some folks who, oh my goodness, what was it? Sherry Shepherd. I was talking to her. So it was a movie. I think it was the Brian Banks movie. And Sherry was like, "What? I gotta play somebody's mama?" I was like, "It's a role."
Not only that, it's longevity. Because you can't be the ingenue or the 30, 40-year-old, forever. Because even you start playing little people's mamas. You're the 30-something-year-old with a 5-year-old in a movie. And then as you grow, the kids grow up and you grow. And it's an honor. I always tell people, aging is a privilege. It's not a given. So you complain about aging. God can fix that for you real good now.
Yeah.
We can remember you just the way you want to be remembered. Young and pretty at 20-something, you can make that happen. So for me, it's a privilege. And I don't mind aging on film because, hey, I think I do it pretty well. So.
But very few people say that because they're so caught up in trying to hold on to that youth.
And I understand that because that is the whole sexism, ageism in Hollywood. Like men can get old, they get the bellies, they can lose hair, they can get bald, and they're handsome. We get older and we're supposed to be like horses go out to pasture and die somewhere. I don't know. It's like, I'm the best I've ever been. And I will be 66 next month. So, hey, what am I supposed to do? A, I can't lie about my age. And you go on the internet, the first thing pop up is March 20th, 1957. B, like I said, it's a privilege to have lived this long and to continue living, and I'm healthy, and I'm happy. So that's a blessing. And why not? Why not show other women how you can do it and show these young girls what they need to aspire to? So I don't have a problem with it. I'm gonna be somebody's grandmama in the movie. I can't wait to be a grandmama in the movie and a grandmama for real. My baby girl got engaged.
Yes, I saw. I saw the social media. See, the thing, I just think that when you talk about longevity, that's the piece a lot of people, to me, don't focus on. I mean, you can get it quick. It can be real fast. But the question is, do folks still remember? I mean, I was having that conversation, April of 2023, 10 years since I've been gone from CNN. And I tell people, my life didn't end, my career didn't end. You still keep on, you still keep building. And so many people, I think, get locked into not understanding the long game. If you're still in the game 20, 30, 40 years, you're winning.
Yeah, and you got to be realistic about that. What does that mean? It means you're going to change. The world around you is going to change. You change with the world. You're not going to be, I'm not the same Vanessa that did come into America at 30, 30 years old when I did that? I'm not the same person. And what a blessing that I'm still in the game, that I'm working a lot. Well, that's a blessing. So it's nothing to shy away from, to be embarrassed about, and to, I love being Hollywood mothers. I'm gonna be the grandmama, I'll be the auntie. I got so many kids. Auntie. I got kids at my phone number. They call me for advice.
Right.
I mentor so many young people. It's a blessing. I'm honored that people think that highly of me.
It's funny you say that. I remember when Ava and Oprah were not happy.
They were not happy with auntie.
Well, folk were calling them auntie.
They said, I'm not your auntie, stop.
Right. and I had to laugh at that because so many people called me Unc.
Right.
And well, first, for long as only women and children could call me Uncle Roro. But then it was like so many dudes like, yo, like we can't call you Uncle Roro. I was like, well, y'all come. And I was like, okay, fine. I remember I was having this conversation with his young brother, and he said, no, Doc. He said, we watch you. He said, you like that crazy uncle everybody got in their family. And I tell folk that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me because I know in our community it is a sign of respect.
It's an endearment. It's a term of endearment.
It's reverence.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, you ain't 30.
Yeah.
So the deal is...
I respect, I remember that when that came out, and I respect Oprah and Ava's position on not wanting to be called auntie. I get that, but it doesn't bother me either. And there's so many kids in this city And they walked to me and said, "You gonna be my auntie? You gonna be my auntie?" And some kids have actually wiggled their way into my life because they were so determined to get to know me, and they really went out their way. And like you said, it's a term of endearment in our community. That's like your play cousin, your play auntie. I had so many aunties growing up that my mother wasn't related to. My kids have so many aunties.
Our family was huge. We had no room for play aunties.
Well, my kids got play aunties.
And when I say huge,
like huge,
my mom said it was 8 of them, 42 grandkids, I think 72 great and like 120 great.
Oh, Lord.
So we ain't had no room for play people. We ain't had no room for friends.
No, wait, the whole town was your friend.
We ain't had no room for friends.
No, but the whole town was your family.
Our whole church.
Everybody in church was your cousin.
No. That's just my grandmother and grandfather. We ain't talking about my grandmother and grandfather's brothers and sisters.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
No. You now go from that 200 to now 5. Oh, no, it's huge.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody in town you was related to.
They all, look, born and raised Catholic. They believed in procreation.
I was Catholic, born and raised Catholic as well. But we have a smaller family. But like my girls have so many aunties in this city that literally have grown, they grew up knowing. And, so I think it's okay.
And I think when you talked about your part about advice and counsel. It happens. I get the phone calls. Folks are going through contract issues, or they're going through relationship issues. I'm looking at switching jobs. There's always something, and they need somebody who they can call, who they can trust, who they can say, hey, let me run this by you. And then there's other cats who I know who do deals. They don't call anybody. And I go, why in the hell did you do that deal you didn't call? And I'm like, you could have got a better deal. And so I'm always trying to explain to them, you have to understand why information sharing is so important, and pick the phone up and don't do it after the fact.
There's nothing wrong with asking. Nothing at all. I mean, even at our age, there's nothing wrong with it. If somebody is at a different position than you, that knows more information than you, I'll pick up the phone and ask them, what do you think about this? How should I do that? And sometimes they're young people younger than me, so I don't get caught up in their age. People can teach you something no matter what age they are. If they are better equipped at something than you are, just ask. It's okay.
How has this Hollywood game changed? You talked about coming to America at 30, where you're now 66. I mean, clearly everything used to be just big screen, small screen. Now is big screen, smaller screen. Now it's, now it's just a whole different world.
Well, it's changed a lot. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't changing for the better, but I still think that there's some headway. We made some headway, but we still need to make more headway.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it absolutely. This whole streaming and the whole, all these different channels coming out, that has helped so much because now I'm seeing all of these beautiful Black children getting jobs immediately out of college or acting school, or, really having a career that's designed for them to succeed later on in their 20s. I'm getting ready to direct this movie for BET, and we started in a couple of weeks, so I've been casting. And getting all these tapes, it's like, back when I was their age, that didn't happen.
Right.
It just didn't happen. And it's like, I was one of the few that was privileged to audition for a lot of things. I didn't get a lot of things, but there weren't a lot of things to get, but I was always in the mix. But there's so many different types now. I'm seeing all different types of guys and girls, sizes, colors, heights, weights, and that's great, because that just didn't exist. Some of them still need to go to acting class, but that's okay. They start out, So it's changed a lot because we have so much more content. And even for people like me.
More platforms.
Like I've been the female lead in a couple of series. I'm directing, the sisters that back then that were my age now, the Beverly Todds and all those when they were like my age,
There was nothing.
There was nothing.
And a part came along every now and then.
Right, so even though I was working, they were working less.
Yep.
Because they were older than me, So now that I'm the age of some women I knew back then, I'm still in the game.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
I'm always reading Deadline.com, The Wrap, Hollywood Reporter, Variety. I'm always reading that. And I'm always looking at who's being hired on the front of the camera, but also who's hired in executive suites.
Right.
And so you're seeing all of these different stories and talking about, diversity and wanting to expand different changes like that. But I remember, but this is when I knew. So I come to LA every May to play in the George Lopez golf tournament. And it would be a bunch of brothers and sisters playing because folks weren't working.
Right.
So it was at least about 5 years ago. I'm like, okay, it's fewer cats. Probably 4 years ago, I was like,
where about it?
I mean, I'm talking about, it was like few. I'd be like, yo, I got this, I got that, I got this, got that. And I said, yo, this is how the game has changed. Because it was to the point where I think 1 year, it may have been only 3 cats who I normally saw, where before it might be 15, 20. And somebody said, man, where the brothers go? I said, they working. That's how I saw how things had changed, because the networks were being forced, because the viewership was saying, we can take our eyeballs elsewhere. They were being forced to cast Black actors and actresses and Latinos as well. And you saw how—
And then it panned out to be a good thing. See,
Absolutely.
they were forced, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's in. We're in. We're very in now.
Well, because what used to be multicultural and mainstream is now mainstream. The demographics have shifted.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, it pays for them to do it, because that whole myth about movies overseas don't do well. That theory was blown out the water.
It was all BS. Well, actually, it was blown out of the water with Django.
Right.
I mean, it could have always been blown out of the water. But the reality is, they created a system in their mind. Oh, this doesn't work, which to me was always the dumbest thing in the world. When 2/3 of the world people of color, it was always the dumbest thing to me. I was kind of like,
Well, also it was the audience they were going to. They were going to these specific audiences. Like you go to England, or you looking at Brits who maybe aren't into the Black culture. So you're going to particular audiences, and they go, yeah, but you're not really making it mainstream. So. And
then I was talking to Michael Jai White, and he was telling me, like, all of his martial arts movies, crazy in Russia, Ukraine, Romania. And he was like, oh, I'm doing stuff ain't nobody here even seeing. He said, but it's major in those parts. When Wesley Snipes was doing movies, the people kind of like, oh, Wesley fell off the map. He was kind of like, no.
Let me tell you something.
This artist over here is killing it.
I was in France, me and Tony, and accidentally went to the Louvre, right? I had never been, and I saw a side door. And we got off the little bus. I said, well, come on, Tony, let's go to the Louvre. I mean, I'm just like, let's go to the Louvre, right?
We're here.
This Black girl is at the door with this white guy, the Black African girl. And she says, oh my God, Vanessa Bell Calloway. And I'm like this, you know me? And come to find out we were at the wrong door. But she said, I'm gonna let you in, just go in here. But I was in Paris, France.
Mm-hmm.
And that shocked me. She knew my name, she knew me. She knew my movies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you just gotta, they say, build and they will come. Put it out there, people will find it. They will come.
But the crazy thing is, Black entertainers flourished in the 30s, 40s, and 50s in France, in England, in those places. Quincy Jones talked about playing there because he was not going to do the racism here. I remember years later, Kirk Whalum talked about the time he spent in France, Josephine Baker and others. Then you look at all of these British acts who just revered blues music, whether it was the Beatles and other groups. And so our culture was always exported. Again, but that's where white Hollywood. Charles Dutton used to when I had him on my Washington Watch show on TV1, we talking about Hollywood. He said, no, he's afraid. He said, so-called liberal Hollywood.
No.
He said, there are pockets of Hollywood that are
That's
liberal.
true.
He said,
That's very true.
He said,
that is very true.
That ain't Hollywood.
That is very true.
He said that there's rampant racism in Hollywood, and he said, and the system was always set up that way. He said, folks have better understand what the real deal is, and that was the piece. And for so many years, decades, it was just a caste system of freezing us out of the process.
No, that is very true. That is, you look around, politics are interesting, and that's why I always stay away from politics when I go to work. I try to stay away from those conversations because you never know who's on what side of the coin. Because the folks you think are with you, they're not necessarily with you.
And just because somebody may cut a check to the UNCF, don't mean they with you.
Right, and you don't know where they're getting their money from. So, very true.
It is, we talked about, the streaming piece, but also what I think what that has done, because you mentioned directing, it is now allowed brothers and sisters to now stretch more.
Absolutely.
Not just act, but there are others who are producing, who are writing. When I interviewed Sally Richardson Whitfield, I mean, she's now one of the top directors.
She sure
and
is.
she was like,
I helped her do one of her shorts to get into the, to help her along her directing path. So I remember when she started. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she said, when I interviewed her, she said that she kept giving Ava so many directions and tips when they did I Will Follow. Ava was like, you a director, you don't even know it. And she said it was she had never thought about it. It was like, me, a director? And look at her now. But that's when you have the expanded platforms and the opportunities that then says, oh, we're gonna give you a shot to actually shoot this. That to me is why I think is so important I tell people all the time, the internet has completely opened the floodgates, and now the same folk don't control the gate.
And also, it makes sense. If what Sally came to realization about is something I came to realization about too. When you've been behind the camera for so long, in front of the camera for so long, the natural progression is to go behind. You know more than you think you know.
That's if you paid attention.
Well, if you paid attention, and if you want to, because not everybody that acts want to direct.
Precisely.
Trust me. And the days, because I'm still very much an actress. I haven't given up my career just to direct. I do love directing, but there are days when I'm an actress, I'm like this. Bye. Y'all got this. I got one scene. I'm out of here. Good luck, everybody.
Because that is not.
Have a great rest of the day.
That is not the role of the director.
That is not the role of the director. So because I understand both roles and also produce, so because I understand all the entities, depending on what I'm doing at the time, I know what hat I have to wear, and I appreciate the little spaces I get. When I'm just an actress, I'm like, no, I am not going to try to run nobody's set. I'm going to come here, do my scene, and I'm going home. I'm going to let them have this. But then when I'm a director, I run my set.
Right.
So, but it's a natural progression, that you should do that if that's something that you're interested in, because you know more than you think you know. And then once you learn what you need to know and you put it together, it's just winning combination. I do love directing. I love directing the movies, like the TV movies. So those, and I like episodic too, but I really like doing the movies because you start from beginning to end. You help shape the story. You help with the rewrites. You help pick the cast. You just, the rehearsals, the whole shooting it, to tell that whole story, and it's over in 2 hours. I like that process a lot.
So when young folks are coming up to you, do you make clear to them that there's a world in Hollywood or in television that it goes beyond in front of the camera? For me, as a journalist, students come up, I want to do what you do. I want to be an anchor. And I will go, okay, but you gonna skip being a reporter? You want to be an anchor, but you need to learn how to report. Bernard Shaw used to always say, learn how to write. I've tried to get as many brothers and sisters to become producers. And I had a young sister worked on our show who absolutely her skill set, producer. But she definitely wanted to be in front of the camera. And her calling is she could be a showrunner today. She could be an executive producer today, making far more money than what she's making in front of the camera. And she goes, well, what about you? I said, hold on, let me be clear with you. I said, I'm the host, managing editor. If I was only the host, this was the TV once. If I was only the host, I don't want the job. I said, it's the editorial power. Because I went to communications high school, so I always was taught the power is the person's behind the camera. And I try to get so many of them to understand, think about the industry broader, because when you are that producer, ain't nobody commenting on your hair, your makeup, your nails, the outfit you had on. I said, that's also long money. And so many now, they were like, I want to be an entertainment reporter. And I said, baby, let me explain this. It ain't that many entertainment reporting jobs. And that's the thing that I've really tried to get more of our folks to understand. And I get it, because you see it. And you want to be seen and known. I said, but do you want to have a long career?
Do you want to, how much do you want to, the information, because all that information works together. And that's what they have to understand. It's like, you know, even there's been some projects. I did the hair. I was the craft service on my own stuff, you know. I did the set design. But all of that, now as a director, all of that comes to play. It all fits in because my eye.
There you go.
You know, it's about that seeing stuff and knowing how to pull things together, because all the producers doing is pulling all the entities together, making sure everything works.
Here's what I did. I made her, so she would be producing, and other producers as well. I made them shoot. She's like, why are you making us shoot? I said, because I need you to be looking through that viewfinder. So when you're sitting with that editor, you're seeing what you missed.
You know how to write.
I said, and then I said, and of course with a new camera, I said, I don't want you shooting with a monitor. I want your eye
shooting with your
in
eye.
that viewfinder. And she was like, why? I said, because I said, when you shoot with the viewfinder, you're looking at the viewfinder, but you're seeing everything that's around it. I said, but when your eye is on it, it's so intimate because it's just you. It's just, I said,
you gotta train that eye.
I said, you're shooting that subject, so you're seeing, okay, what's that over her right shoulder? What's that over her left shoulder? What's that thing peeking out? And I said, that's what I need you to understand. And she was like, so then when she goes and does it, and she comes back and she was like, oh my God. I said, that's gonna make you a better producer. She didn't want to shoot, but I needed her to understand.
Because you gotta understand everybody's job. Like, what was it, Michael Eisner? He tells a story about how, I believe it was him, the Disney, you know, it was a Disney CEO, and he tells a story about how he started Disney as a page, and he did every single job before he became CEO. It's the same thing. The more jobs that you experience, the more jobs that you do. When you have to run a ship, you know what everything should look like. You know what every person should be doing.
There you go.
And you know how to fill in if something is shortcomings here. You know how to make it happen.
And when somebody start lying to you, like, hold up.
You know.
No.
You know everything. It's like, you know. So
and it's not that you're an expert at it, but you have a working knowledge of it.
How it should be.
And then you're able to put it all together.
Exactly.
And say, all right, this is how I sort of want this
So
to
you
be
did that young lady a favor by teaching her that, because you really need to know everything.
And that was,
you know.
And that was a piece. And it's so many folks, they fight it, they resist it. And what I also then tell them, I said, if you only do that one thing, you are going to not have a job.
Exactly.
I said, because what's happening, because here's the piece that people—
Because you're not valuable, because everybody can just take that over. It's like, you need to be more valuable to any company, how many things you can do. And also, it's your Rolodex. Like what I found, like we were scouting and doing all this stuff, and because I have the pleasure finally to shoot a movie here in town and not go out of town, my Rolodex is crazy.
There you go.
I was able to get so many favors and this, that, and other, just based on relationships.
There you go.
You know, so these kids need to understand, yeah, you could produce at this studio for a while, or you could be over here doing another job. And it may seem like it's taking forever, but then you get to a point where all of these entities you've been a part of, you've touched, you know, and you can pick up the phone and call people in different parts of the city, or different job requires, whatever you need, and just start talking and making stuff happening.
I interviewed Issa Rae, and it was hilarious. So this clip goes viral like once every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Like ever since we'll text each other, she was like, I love it. She's like, I love that this thing goes viral at least once 6 months or once a year. And it's a part where she says, I didn't sit around waiting and hoping that I would meet Tyler or meet Ava or meet Oprah. When they were doing those episodes on YouTube, she said, all of us had no work. So my friends were lighting, cinematographer, director, producer. She said, so hell, we all worked on the same, all of our projects together. She said, we used the talent that was just sitting right there. She said, and we got it done.
Yeah.
We didn't sit around waiting.
I always tell kids that too, network across. Don't think you always got to network. Yeah, network up is great. If you're in that room and you can meet Steven Spielberg and whoever, that's
called being vertical and horizontal.
Rolling and me, whatever. That's great. But when, like she said, when you know you've been in school, I call it the freshman class. It's your freshman class. You know the guy who writes. You know the guy who wants to be a DP. You know the camera guy. You know the girl who wants to produce or the guy who wants to produce. The person who wants to be. You know those people. And she was right. And I was huge fans of that Awkward Black Girl. Me and my daughter Allie watched that. Matter of fact, when I first met her, I scared her to death. We were at the Essence Women's, the luncheon that they had. And I turned around. I said, "Oh!" And she did like this. I said, "Oh my God, I love you so much." I'm just. She's like this, like. I mean, nobody knew her then, right? Right. And I took a picture, or either I called my daughter and said, look, I got Issa Rae, you know, and I told her what a big fans we were of the show. And years later, she thanked me for that on stage, and she hooked me up with my web series and introduced me to somebody who helped me with my web series. Right. And now my daughter, Ashley, works with Color Creative, works for a company. So that's sister, I love that sister.
Well, it was always funny because I sent her, I forgot what it was. It was when Insecure had the final episode. So I sent her a text. She's like, "You about to make me cry." I could tell I was so proud of her because there were things that I'm iterating with being on the panel, and she was also there, and it was sort of the same thing. You know, she wasn't on HBO. She didn't have a deal, but she was doing the web series. Was building her name. And so we would always just cross paths at different events. And what I always tell people, if you're a preacher, you can't say, "Oh man, I want to be like Jakes," if you ignore when Jakes was digging ditches in West Virginia. Oh, you want to be like Potter's House Jakes, but that's the same Jakes who was digging ditches in West Virginia. It's the same person. And that to me, when I see folk who, oh my God, Issa Rae, or if they see any other, I'm like, no. Learn their story, because you don't just arrive at a place happenstance. Everything that happened before the thing hit played a role in it hitting.
And that's what a lot of these kids need to understand. And that's this generation, you know, they want to just, you know, get out of school and just be famous or just make the money. They want to skip the steps, and like, you can't skip the steps.
It's every generation. Gen X was the same way. But the reality is, if you skip the steps, it's going to show up.
Sooner or later. And if you can skip the steps, because a lot of people can't skip the steps because you don't have the information to take you to that point you think you want to go to. It's like you can't be an investment banker and not go to school and learn about banking. You know, you can't just leave high school and become an investment banker, but maybe you can on your own and you're somewhere in a room and you learn enough and then you become this big to-do, you know, because you made a lot of money.
Right.
But you got to go through the steps. You can't become a lawyer, certified lawyer or doctor without going through the steps. And that's what, you know, a lot of these kids have to understand, even though they think that acting and producing and directing is easy, it's not. It really isn't. And it really takes a certain skill set and information and knowledge and experience to be able to do it. Especially if you try to do more than one, be multifaceted and do more than one at once.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.
Did you at Napoleon Hill in this book that you wrote it says you should have a mastermind group. That's a group of people, not necessarily in your industry, who brings different perspectives and knowledge and allows you to tap into that. So for you and your career, who have been your go-to people? Folks, maybe some people who folks know or don't know who you could pick their phone up and say, I need to talk to you, or give me advice on this, or give me a sense of direction, or help me to understand this. Have you had a go-to?
They change. They've changed constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I do have those people, but they've changed.
Right.
And right now I'm working with this sister who I have so much respect for, Tressa Smallwood out of. Tressa's a bad sister, and her Megamind company, and I've done work with her, and I'm producing a Wicked City that I also starred in, and I'm going to direct a movie, Black Girl Erupted for BET, that's her production company. Tremendous amount of knowledge. Self-taught, taught herself in 6 years. The catalog she has of movies that she did in 6 years, so proud of her, and so great to, happy to be working with her. So right now, that's somebody, she's younger than me, but it's like, girl, what we doing, how to do that? She's like, girl, this is what we got to do. Okay. I don't have any shame in that.
Right.
Just because I might be older than somebody. There's a lot of people that I respect that I'll pick up the phone. Like when I'm directing, Ken Whittingham is somebody I'll call. My brother, I'm like, Ken, I need some advice. How would you shoot this? Would you look at this? And he's one of the only people that really picks up the phone and really helps me too. It's funny, a lot of folks, you've helped them, but when it's time for them to turn around and help you, so, which is fine, because I learned a lesson through my Bible study class is that you do things because you want to, to bless them.
One time.
And you can't worry about them blessing you.
One time.
But that is one of the only people that I could call and say, hey, read this scene, help me, how would you shoot this? What should I do? He actually, a movie I directed, he actually looked at it, sat down with me, and we went over notes, and he said, well, what happened? That's all I asked.
Right.
And because he knows if he needs me to work for $5.99, he can say, Vanessa, I got $5.99, and I need you to come do this part. Unless I am on the other side of the world, can't make it, he knows I'll do it.
Right.
So there's a lot of different people I go to, and I just think, how great is it that we have these people that we can go to, that people are working and recreating themselves, and just the knowledge and teaching themselves and just redefining who they are and what they do. So, yeah, I'm pretty lucky.
See, when I say that one time, I've helped a lot of folk, and it's kind of like, oh, you forgot my name?
Yeah,
then I go,
yeah.
All right.
But you know what? Like I said, I learned you do this. You want to see them succeed.
No, you do. Here's my whole deal. You do someone a favor. You help them out. But I remember how you acted. I don't forget. Like if you all of a sudden start flaking, I go, okay. So when you try to call that second time, it ain't like I forgot what you just did.
Right.
That's my deal. Like it's like. As I tell him, I said at a past, he said, I might be saved, but I ain't blind.
Right. Right.
Because some folk will play that game where they see it as a one-way street, as opposed to, hey, who actually had my back? I remember. So I had written a column, or I gave an interview, and it was all this drama with the King children. Not the King, of course, got King's children. And it was the 50th anniversary of the Million Man March. Excuse me, 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. And MLK III, he saw me, he was like, man, if y'all could just walk a day in our shoes. He said that. So then when I saw Bernice, and she was like, brother, I still love you, but y'all don't understand, the stuff y'all say. I said, Bernice, let me explain something. You said, so you see all these people here? Everybody here know I will whoop their ass if need to. I said, I will say what needs to be said. I said, that's gonna come a day when you gonna want me to whoop somebody's ass for you. There's gonna come a day. I said, trust me. This was a Saturday, Vanessa. Sharpton had, it was two events. Sharpton had a march on Saturday, and then it was the official one on Monday that Obama spoke at. This is Saturday we had the conversation. Monday, her brothers filed a lawsuit against her to get her fired from the King's Center.
Oh, I
it was
remember
like remember the conversation we had? You gonna need somebody to whoop somebody's ass for you? I said, it came sooner than you thought, huh, Bernice? And it was, so she just sort of started laughing. But it was just one of those things that when you talk about doing somebody a favor, she thought, oh man, you being too hard on us. I was like, no, it's gonna come a day you gonna want me on your side to smack somebody for you. She didn't realize it came 3 days later when I had to publicly smack her brothers for the lawsuit. But I tell folk just all the time, when somebody does something for you, I tell them it is important for you to remember.
Yes.
And for you to also pay it forward because you didn't get there because of you.
And it doesn't, and when I say that, I mean, it's not like they're gonna come back and give me something.
Right.
Because what I realized too is like, by me blessing somebody with a favor, be it my presence or something I have or some knowledge, whatever, I get blessed because of the things that come to me in other directions. So that's fine. But like you said, it's just along the way. If you ever seen something that you could bless me with because I really blessed you, and I'm not talking about little favors. I'm talking about some of the bigger favors.
Absolutely.
I'm not talking about the little bitty stuff. Then, like you said, just don't forget because we all need a little blessing every now and again.
Absolutely. I mean, but that is. Look, I just believe that when you are in a position where you can help someone else who's helped you, yeah, absolutely. It was a sister who's an actress, and I said, I had done these interviews for my show, let's do it. She was like, me? I said, yeah. I was like, why not? And she said, well, I got several things I'm working on. I said, fine. Let me know when those things happen. We'll have you on the show. That ain't killing me.
Right. That's easy for you to do.
It's easy, but it's not like, oh my God, no, I can't. I'm like, no. I was like, not a problem. Let me know, and sure, can have you on the show. We can send something out. We can promote it. I've done that where someone will, hey Roland, can you post this here? Sure, no problem. Then you had those folk who asked you 7-8 times, can you post it? I'm like, look. And then ain't never asked, hey, can I help you? Ronaldo Glover was a frat brother of mine, met him in Chicago. Did not know him long, he died of pancreatic cancer when I ran Chicago Defender. And this is what he would always say. He would always say, no, how can I be of assistance?
Oh.
He would always, he told me that when the mayor, he was the chairman of the City College of Chicago, chair of the board. He was being replaced by the mayor. He goes to the meeting knowing he's getting fired.
Right.
He's getting replaced. And said the same thing. How can I be of assistance? And the mayor was sort of like, but that was Ray's deal. His whole deal was, how can I be of assistance? If he said, Roland, if you ever go to China, you let me know if you got any issues. I got significant relationships in China. It was just, I was like, oh, okay.
But I know people like that, and I'm gonna say, in all fairness, I gotta say, some of the biggest blessings I've had were with people that I did favors for. When I talk about getting $5.99, that's always my joke. And they literally turned around to, well, saints and sinners. Swirl, down at Eric, and I did stuff for them for $2.99 in the corner in the back in North Carolina, standing in that corner with five monologues, had to ride the horse and the donkey back to LA type of job.
Right.
But because I believed in the brothers.
That's right.
And then when the time came for
Boom.
centers, it was like, it wasn't even a, you want it, it's yours. And the same thing with Black Hamptons, with Tridestin, with Indy and Trey. Same thing. I done done stuff for them and Carl Weber running up and down the street, changing in the bathroom, whatever it needed. I say, y'all got it. Y'all family, believe you.
See, but that's where I tell folks, one, you don't know where they're going.
Right. You just believe it.
And
that's
if
interesting.
you believe
like
in
I believe in Tressa, just always believed in her. And there's just certain people you meet, and it's like to be a part of their world.
You connect.
You meet, you connect, and it's like it's God talking to you. He's like, you know what? It's not about the money.
That's right.
It's not about the money.
It's about the relationship.
It's about the relationship, and because when they grew, I grew.
That's what I'm saying. That's it.
They allowed me to grow with them in ways that other people weren't giving me the opportunities. With Swirl, that's when I started directing. And that's when I became the number one on the call sheet with Black. First, for me it was first time being a Black female lead.
Yep.
Same thing with Black Hamptons, being a Black female lead, and just all the stuff that comes with it. So it's like I gave to them, they give back to me.
Right.
So I gotta clear that up because I don't want it to seem like nobody's ever,
No,
respect.
absolutely.
But there are, some people who I'm like this.
Oh no, it's called you gonna get the side eye. It's like you gonna get you gonna get the side eye. Oh, absolutely. I just that's just something that I do think people have to really understand. You can't look at a person or an opportunity today and only measure it. Nah, man, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that.
No, you cannot. You'll miss out on so many blessings. Oh my God. And if I tell any of these young people, it's like, and especially listen to your soul. Your spirit will tell you when you're aligned with the right people.
Yep.
Your spirit will tell you that. And I always say, if I only did jobs for money, I would have no resume. I would have no resume because and then when I get with the big studios, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make y'all pay me, but I couldn't get from Homeboy over here.
Yes.
Y'all got to give me a little extra because the job I did before, they didn't have no money. But how wonderful is it when you go to work and you have such a great time, you love being with the people, but more importantly, I love it when I go and I'm appreciated. And I go on set, I'm directing or producing or both or as the actress, and everybody, now they gave me $5.99 and that's the best they had. But they appreciate me being there, they value me, and that's what I love.
But you also know they ain't trying to play you.
Ain't right.
Because there's some folk
will try to
trying to play you.
But I know them.
Listen, all I got is $5.99. You like, your ass got $10.99.
You got $10.99.
Like, don't ain't like you just trying to play me.
Right.
But I think you said it best when you said your spirit picks up on it. Because there are people who I come in contact with. It's like, no, I'm good. I ain't trying to. No, I ain't trying to be around you. And it's and the folks kind of like, oh, you like? No, I'm just.
Because if you always.
You feel it.
I always tell my girls that it's like it's just that little voice inside of you. You can call it God, you can call it just whatever you want to call it, But if my head cocks to the side, or if for 1 minute I think, Vanessa, no, that's the world. That's God telling me, don't do it. Always know. Always know that little voice is the first thing to guide you, and it's telling you the truth. It's telling you to lead a party.
Mine ain't no little voice. Hell no.
Yours is screaming from
mine be hollering like, leave. This is
turn around and run.
I ain't lying. This happened. This is when I say this. I'm in Atlanta. I was working on a project with major broadcasting cable network. So we're sitting in this guy's apartment, Four Seasons in Atlanta. And so he's behind a bar. It's a guy with a law firm sitting on the table. They were trying to do a deal with one of his LLCs, penny stocks, and try to do a publicly traded offering sort of stuff. And I'm sitting there, no lie. All of a sudden, pain comes across my entire body. I'm talking about head to toe. I can't move. I thought I said.
You talking to the devil?
No, I was like, I'm sitting there. Am I having a stroke? Am I having a? This is 23 years ago. So I'm 32. I can't move. I'm talking about I can't move. And this is what I hear. I need you to leave. I need you to leave.
You just heard in your.
No, this is, I need you to leave. And I'm like, so I try to get up. my entire body is racked with, I'm like pain, like I could barely move. I get up, guys, I gotta go. I'm talking about, I'm moving, like, this is how I'm moving to the door. I can barely walk. This is how I walk down the hallway to the elevator, go downstairs, get a valet my slip to drive back to my hotel. I'm in pain, I'm behind the wheel, I'm in pain. It's continuing. I get to the hotel, walk into my hotel, open your Bible. Now, mind you, again, I'm born and raised Catholic. We don't even know how many books in the Bible. They don't teach you none of that.
Right, right.
Straight up, open. This is not bookmarked. This ain't not. Open straight to Psalm 1:1. The godly do not walk in the counsel of the wicked. Then I hear, I could not have you in that room with what was going down. Okay, cool. Pain goes away.
Ain't that something? I believe it. What?
Next day we at lunch. 4 of us, we sitting there, Chinese restaurant, we talking. One of the sisters mentions the name of the brother who's
and the pain came back. Oh, the pain came back.
Then the exact
pain.
Then I hear, I need you to go to him to say the following. And until you do, the pain will not leave. But girl, I got in that car, I called him once they say, because I was leaving the next day to go to New Orleans for a uni journalist of color mentoring deal. I was not trying to be in pain in New Orleans. Vanessa, I called him. What time are you gonna be at your place? Made my way to his place, told him what God told me to tell him, and left. I never
had that pain again.
Had that pain again. But I'm talking about, when I say pain, literally, it was like my entire body locked up, and I swore I was having a stroke.
You were saved from whatever that experience would have been.
You could not be in that room. So there are people who I have, and my grandfather had multiple spiritual gifts. There are people who I have come into contact with where there were deals, and I said, absolutely not.
Because the spirit wasn't right. You felt the energy.
Oh, absolutely.
And you listened.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like.
I believe that. Totally believe that. You know, you just do. You know.
And the bad part when you don't listen to it. I tell people, you can ignore it.
I have stuff, it has happened to me where it saved me. Where something said, Vanessa, don't do that. Don't do it. And I didn't do it. And several days later, it's like, thank God I didn't do it. And the voice told me not to do it. And had I not listened to the voice, this is the situation I would have been in. It's happened to me several times. So I totally believe in that. And I tell my girls all the time, if it walk like a duck, if it sound like a duck, if it look like a duck, it's a duck. And listen to that voice because it will tell you.
Or it's a thief, it's a hood.
Turn around and get the hell out.
Yeah, and it is always amazing to me when I talk to people who made the other choice. And they go, man, what was I thinking? What was
because they were told, they knew they were going against it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's signs too. There's just so many signs to me when you know that it's right. Like, I'm gonna just give you this quick example. This is why I know, like, my daughter's getting married, right? And 2 weeks ago, today, he did the proposal. Now, they've been together for 8 years, cute little couple. It was cold and everything. That Thursday and Friday was warm. That Friday, it was a beautiful day. I mean, the way he did the proposal, the next day the weather plummeted and it's been horrible ever since. Could you imagine that was like 2 weeks ago today?
Right.
It's like right now was this Friday? You know, so I said, little signs like that mean something to me. I'm like, that's when you know it's right. When little things happen that just make everything so much easier and it just fits without being forced.
And see see when you make the wrong decision, your career can be altered. Your life can be altered. I mean, I was speaking at, I think it was at Bethune-Cookman I was speaking. It was a brother, and this dude was headed for major Division 1A scholarships, and He was walking to his girlfriend's house, and it was only three blocks or so. And his cats rolled up. So, man, we'll give you a ride over there. And he said don't get in that car.
And he did.
Don't get in that car. Don't get in that car. It was tip, don't get in that car. And he said it was 3 blocks. And he got in that car, and they got pulled over. That led him to go to prison. He didn't know what they were carrying in that car. He said, I was headed. He said, I was headed to the pros. I was headed to main scholarship. He said, and
the voice told him not to get in that car.
He said,
you got to trust
that. He said
that.
it was 3 blocks. He said, I could walk 3 blocks. He said, but I was like, man, okay, fine, I'll do the ride. And he said, completely altered his
But that's
life.
also a lesson in letting people pressure you or talk you out of what you need to do. See, the pressure too is like, no, like you said, like you told the guy, you knew, let me get up and walk. Now that other voice could have said, be quiet, it's gonna be fine.
Right.
I gotta make this money. This deal's gonna go through.
Right.
Sit here, it's gonna all work out. And you don't know what could have happened.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So that you gotta know that too. It's like, don't be pressured. If you believe in yourself and you believe in the road you've chosen and you believe in your project or whatever it is you're doing, and you know, hands down, you are doing the right thing at the right time, you gotta stick to that and see it out. Even if there's a bump or even if there's, it may like get a little weary, like, am I doing the right thing? But then you say, no, you're doing the right thing, it's just a little bump. You gotta believe that and you gotta keep going because people will try to take you off your course. See, that young man, unfortunately, he let those people take him off his course when he knew they should not be doing that. And we all face that. And, we got to tell all these kids, today, especially all this stuff going on, just stay the course. The rainbow or whatever you want to call it, it's going to be over there. But you got to stay the course and do the work. And then it will come to fruition.
Oh, no, that's the key.
But we begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now.
Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history.
Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of Black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin or download the Black Star Network app.
Work with a lot of folks. Who have you worked with that you learned the most from?
That's a very good question. Wow.
Just being in their presence, watching them, seeing how they move and flow.
That's a very
and
good question. I wish I had somebody on the tip of my tongue right now. Wow. Trying to think recently. I think that the thing I've learned mostly is not the actors, because I'm in a different mindset. It's like just watching producers. Like I just finished this Vince Staples show. Vince Staples has just finished his show, playing his mother. And watching those young producers on set, I was learning from watching them. I was learning from watching Vince, because he's running his stuff, baby. I had to pull him aside and tell him how proud I was of him, because he realizes his name is on the show, and he is involved, and he's writing some of the episodes, and he is involved in every little thing. He's just not that person sitting back being the star. And so, yeah, I have to say just recently, because I just finished rapping with them, I learned a lot just being on that set with, and young people, all young people, younger than me, some very young, some could be my kids, and some could be my nephews. Because with them old fools, I ain't gonna claim they gave birth to some of them old people. But no, that's a very good question. But I think I learn now more from when I'm working with directors As an actress, I watch them, or when I'm working with producers, I watch how they're, pulling all their stuff together. Because a lot of times, when I'm working on a set, especially when I'm working with a younger group of people, because I never mess with another director's set. But there's so many times I want to pull somebody aside, like, come here, let me tell you, would you like a little advice on how to work that little line, how to do the scene? I'm gonna let the director tell you. Yeah, that's a very good question, though. But I always try to pay attention to everything that's going on around me when I work.
You did a reshoot of the Coming to a Scene.
Coming to America.
Coming to America, and so many folks were just loving it. Is it still crazy to you, the folk who remember that scene, the barking and the hopping and the...
Well, you know what? At the time, I tell people, I was just happy to get a job. Okay, I auditioned for Sherry's part.
Okay, Sherry Headley's part.
It was Lisa.
Yep.
Everybody wanted Lisa. That was a bigger part.
Of course.
So when I saw John Landis, when I was, when the casting director called me back to meet him, and he looked at me, he said, there's this other part. And I'm thinking, shit, I don't want to do this other part.
I want that main part.
I want to do Lisa, So he said, would you mind looking at it and going out? So I looked at it, I came back, and I'm like, well, this would be better than nothing, I guess, So long story short, we know I got the job. And if you would have told me then that it was going to have the longevity that it had now, I would have been like, you sure about that? So I don't mind at all. People go like, you get sick about it? Not at all. It's the gift that keeps giving. It's the gift that has introduced me to other generations. It's the gift that got me into Come to America 2. It's the gift that got me grouped with somebody as famous as Eddie Murphy, So,
Whatever you like.
Yeah, I mean, I got
when they recite famous movie lines.
Exactly, So it's like, yeah, it was great.
Other night we were talking about famous movie lines, and somebody brought up the one from What's Love Got to Do with It?
You ain't got to hit me, boo.
You ain't got to hit me one time.
See, I knew that one too. Right?
Yep, same thing.
Yeah, and we did a lot of improvising on that.
Really?
We did, and I can't remember if that was written or if that was, or if I did it, but I remember that Lawrence accidentally hit me. We missed the connection. He's a gentleman and a scholar, so he was mortified, but he actually connected, and it was this side of my face, so I'll never forget. It was like, I was like, oh. Other side was like, oh my God, he hit me. And this is how sick actors are. Like, the other voice said, this is gonna be great, Vanessa, keep going.
You like,
so my head's spinning.
You like, shit, that hurt.
You know how you had the cartoon with the little birds, some little birds on top of my head. I'm like, keep going. So I roll over and I get up. I was really cussing them out.
You like, that wasn't acting going on.
That's the one they used. Of course, everybody was like this until they said cut. They were happy I didn't stop.
Right.
But they were like, because everybody could hear it. That's how.
Wow.
He slapped it. He slapped big old hand of man.
Right.
And you know how you do this, right?
Right.
And we missed the connection, so it was like, pow, I was like, oh. But I kept going. And I'm glad I did.
Dang.
I was tough. I was younger. I had to be tough. It's like, nothing's going to stop me from actually doing my scene.
But that damn slap hurt.
Shit, I probably would he hit me now, I probably would stop. No!
What would you say was the most fun you had with the
Oh my
role?
God, now that's easy. The most fun I had doing a job was Inkwell with Joe Morton, Suzanne Douglas, Glenn Turman, and Mary Alice. Baby, it was like the young people and the old people. Remember the movie?
Because you had AJ,
and
Lorenz,
although
Jada.
AJ is close to me, she was playing, she's close to me in age, but she was playing younger.
Right.
So she was kind of on this side. Baby, we partied so hard. We had so much fun. We had to remember that we was down there doing North Carolina shooting a movie. And then one night we had been partying, smoking, and drinking and stuff. And we started talking about our scenes, and we realized some people was doing the comedy and some people was doing the drama. We were like, I thought this was a comedy. Like, I thought it was a drama. Oh, we had so much fun. God rest my girl Suzanne Douglas, God rest her, but baby, and Mary Alice, God rest her too. We partied our butts off. That is some of the most fun I've ever had shooting a movie. So that's easy. That's an easy one for me to remember.
Oh yeah, that was one. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but so many people. It gave first of all, it gave a slice of Black American people. Most people don't have any understanding about.
Right.
So I thought that was also it.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
What have you not done that you absolutely want to do?
Oh God, there's a lot. There's a lot. What I really want to do right now, I want to direct a real good indie movie. I want a really good script, though, a real good gritty script that's really character-driven, about real people, natural people, not, just like family-oriented. That, there's conflict in the family, and then these resolution and different storylines going on. That's something I haven't done that I really want to do. And acting-wise, I want to do like a remake. Like I would love to do Black remake of what was it? Oh God, why can't I think of the name of the movie all of a sudden? I've always been blessed by the kindness of strangers. That's the famous line from it. That's 66-year-old brain. Streetcar.
Okay. Streetcar in this house.
Sorry, I've always wanted to do a Black movie version of that. Something like that. Or to do The Graduate, something like that. A remake of an old movie like that.
Okay.
That would be nice. Yeah, there's a lot I want to do.
When we go to another dinner party?
Yes,
that was way. It is so funny because, everything out here is always, foo-foo. And what I would tell people, they were like, I heard about the dinner parties. I was like, y'all don't understand. I said, it was straight up, come to town, text message, it's a get-together. Wasn't no dress code. And I tell people all the time, that what I loved about it was because you had Bill Duke, Ray J, and Ray J's mama and dad out there playing bid whist. Right. And then you had folk on the inside. And it was just all of these for me, it was like growing up like I grew up in Houston, when you have family get-togethers. And what kills me, folks were like, man, we got to do this again. I was like, all y'all live here. I'm the one who don't live here. They were like, well, you the one who connect folks. I was like,
well, you let me know when you come to town, get enough notice, honey, that's easy. I love dinner parties. First of all, I'm a home chef. That's the thing I love. And I love setting a beautiful table.
And I'll have a little bigger budget this time.
Yeah, but I love.
Vanessa was like, how much you got? I was like, hey,
I made it work though. Come on.
Yeah, you did. You did. That was TV One was like, no, we can't spin. I was like, yeah, okay, y'all know y'all got it, but we made it work.
Well, let me know. I'll be happy to host another dinner party.
That was so much fun.
I'd be happy to host a dinner party. You let me know.
That was so much fun.
That's something that I really enjoy. I enjoy that more than going.
Didn't you have a dinner party show?
Yes, yeah, in the Company of Friends. And you can still get it at VanessaMcCalloway.com and in the Company of Friends.tv. Shameless plug. But no, I love dinner parties because to me, it's just so much more intimate and fun than going to a restaurant.
Right.
You can stay there forever. And we entertain quite a lot, Tony and I. And everybody who's been in my house, they know if I invite you to dinner, then you know it's going to be a good dinner party.
But also, y'all have an entertaining house.
Yeah,
because you got the indoors, the outdoors.
Wait till you see the island. Honey, I done hooked up that outdoor. For Tony's birthday last year, I made him a man cave, a little cigar thing. But now he had heart surgery, can't smoke cigars anymore. But that's okay.
Well, first of all, I'm allergic to smoke, so cool.
No, but it's, it's like a cabana.
I got you.
But it's a man cave, for.
Wow.
But it's beautiful. I mean, I made a high-end one. And, we have this huge, big fire. It's just nice.
All right, well next time I come, no, we're going to do that. We going to do that. And it was so fun. I was talking somewhere, and this person's like, oh, my God, that sounds great. And they were like, no one texted me.
See, and I always get off it like, that was Roland's list. I ain't had nothing to do with that. That was Roland's list.
Why did he get invited? You like, oh, that was Roland.
That was Roland.
Put that on me.
We put the blame back and forth on each other.
Ain't no problem. No, there was one person, I was like, I don't know who it was. I wouldn't take a number. He's like, you wasn't invited. He was like, he was like, wait a minute. I said, it was straight text message. I would hit Cass, it was like, yo, meet at Vanessa's house, hit the address, hit the time.
Like, I like it like that, don't you? And people know that you can come to my house in your sweatsuit, but my tables are gonna be gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to dress up for my house.
You get it laid.
But my tables.
But that's why I was trying to get them to understand, like, y'all, this ain't we invite 3 months out. I was like, listen, I'll roll in town. It's like, if you're here, great. If you're not,
I'm moving on to
it's
the next
all
person.
good. And it's like, we're good. We'll catch you next time.
Right.
But oh my God, I have not done one because Ralph Farquhar and his wife hosted one.
Oh yeah.
D'Angela Proctor, we did a potluck at hers. Folk brought food. It was crazy. And then she ain't have a doggone stereo. So me and Mario Van Peebles trying to go find a Radio Shack to have some cables to plug up to the iPod, to her TV, to play the music. Girl, this pre-Spotify and all this sort of stuff. Like, I'm going through her son's gaming stuff, looking for the right cables and stuff. And I was like, I know what I'm doing, don't worry. But we went to a Radio Shack, it was closed. So I gotta do one. I gotta do another.
Those are fun though. Those are a lot of fun. Yeah. Let me know.
All right.
Put me down.
Well, that was good to see you.
Good to see
I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me by just to catch up.
That's how we do it.
That's how we do.
All right. Always appreciate it.
Take care.